Why are there so many shows starring Muppets and dozens of movies too? They said they'd watch everyone and they mean it. It's something that they've got to do. So now they've pledged you a lifelong commitment. The Muppets, Matthew and Sam.
Welcome to Commitment, the podcast where two friends have vowed to watch all things Muppets. I'm Matthew Gatos,
And I'm Sam Schultz.
and this week we head into the year 1989, the year of Batman, the year of Tiananmen Square, and the year that the Fraggles brought down the Berlin Wall.
Thank you, Fraggles.
But it's also the year of a brand new Sesame Street special called Big Bird in Japan. And that's what we watched this week, along with a few 1989 PSAs from our non-Sesame Muppet friends. How you feeling about being in a new year, Sam?
I'm feeling pretty good about it.
Moving the needle.
How's 89 looking? How long are we going to be here for, you think?
I mean, at this point,
Oof.
Sam,
A
it's worth noting
long time.
that, yes, a long time for many reasons, but this might be our last normal episode for a little while because there's a good chance that as you're hearing this, I maybe have a child.
Yay.
So, yeah, that we're looking at whatever this parental leave is going to be. It'll be a little bit of time off. Sam can, do some fun stuff on his own.
I got some ideas.
Yeah.
We'll tell you what's going to happen, too, as soon as we know. We won't leave you hanging.
Yeah. So stay tuned to, your feeds, but also follow us on Instagram and Blue Sky and stuff, and we'll let you know what's going on there. But because of that, I haven't planned a schedule as far ahead as I normally do, because, it's not as predictable right now.
Mhm.
But it is worth noting that I think this will be a pretty hefty year for us because not only do we have the Jim Henson Hour starting up, we also have another season of Muppet Babies, obviously, and The Ghost of Fafner Hall is this year.
It's like there's like a whole year's worth of entries in 1989.
Yeah, I think it'll be a while, but at the same time, I feel like it is a year that we should savor since it is the last year of Jim Henson's full year of his life.
Mm-hmm.
So as far as what Jim Henson is working on, we get some more Tonight Show appearances. We get one of his Arsenio Hall appearances this year. And we get Jim on TV a bit more this year promoting the Jim Henson Hour. So, and we also get to meet Waldo C. Graphic officially. So,
Oh, yes.
pretty good year.
Right.
Yeah, we've got also a special this year called Miss Piggy's Hollywood, which will be interesting to check out because I didn't know it existed until somewhat recently. When I saw some clips online of Miss Piggy at Universal Studios.
What the hell?
Yeah.
Betrayal.
Yeah, a little bit. Maybe this was a tactic by Jim. He was like, "Oh, Disney, you want to buy Muppets? Hey, well, we're doing this little thing, I guess, over here." So we'll see if what Universal says.
Making them sweat a little bit.
Mm-hmm.
Wow, Fozzie's at the Comedy Store.
Justine Bateman's there. Bob Hope is there. But yeah, Miss Piggy's Hollywood is a second half of one of the Jim Henson Hour episodes. So we'll get to see that in what is confusingly called that episode of the Jim Henson Hour is confusingly called First Show.
Oh, but it's not the first one.
It's the 5th episode.
Okay. Whoops.
But I hope Ghost of Fafner Hall is at least interesting because
We've heard
we have
bad
that.
things.
No one, whenever we bring it up, not a single person has said, "Oh my God, I love that one."
What could be so bad about it?
I don't know. I think it's a thing that a lot of people just haven't seen, first of all. But there have been so many shows that we've covered on this podcast that we have disliked.
Yeah.
That people have said to us before we get to them, "I can't wait till you guys get to that."
Oh.
That was one of my favorites.
Sorry.
Not a single person has said that to me about Ghost of Fafnir Hall.
So it must mean the opposite's true, and we're gonna love it.
That's what I'm kind of anticipating is like, but what if we're the freaks who are like, oh, Jim, why don't you just keep doing this? You don't
Yeah.
need Muppet Babies. Ghosts of Fafnir
who's-
Hall is where it's at.
Who's your favorite Muppet? The Ghost of Fafnir Hall.
I don't love looking at them.
They look like the Lazy Town guys.
They look like Lazy Town. They looked a little too cranky anchory for me.
Oh yeah,
Like
that's true.
there's a stretchy, rubbery puppet thing happening here
yeah.
that I'm sure was a new technology they were like trying out. But it looks like the Disney animatronics that have just like the stretchy, rubbery skin, like
Oh.
Ariel and Ursula.
They do. You're right.
And that one lady looks just like that guy who played the caterpillar on Alice's Adventures in Wonderland.
Yeah, that's
You know
also
who I'm talking
true.
about.
I do know exactly who you're talking about. Is that a show we have to watch? Alice's Adventures in Wonderland, or was that nothing
I
to
don't
do
think
with
it's at all.
Muppets?
Yeah.
Completely. That seems like it would have been a Muppet thing.
It does seem, it's like Eureka's Castle, where you're like, come on, that's kind of the same thing, right?
Just let them be Muppets. Yeah.
Well,
Magellan
they made so
should be
many
a
like
Muppet.
weird looking rabbits in Jim Henson's
Right.
creature shop that I'm like, could have just tossed one of those over there to them.
Yeah. Not made
no.
people dress up in those horrible ways that they had to dress up for that show.
Horrible or just the most of its time show that's ever existed.
I feel like I remember watching that show in kind of like morbid fascination for the most part. Just being like, those people look like that.
Yeah.
That's so horrible for them.
They had
I'm
to wear
so sorry.
rollerblades all the time. I think Tweedledee and Tweedledum maybe did, or
I think the White Rabbit wore rollerblades, right?
That makes sense to me because he was
He's
late.
gotta
He got to
get
get there fast.
He's got to get around. I need to confirm this though. Wow, if you search White Rabbit and rollerblades, you get some pretty cool pictures.
I searched White Rabbit and Adventures in Wonderland, and I got a picture of him with O.J. Simpson.
Oh no!
Oh, it's a lost, unaired episode. I think we are ironically going down the rabbit hole and are about to have a conversation we have definitely had on this podcast once before. So Sam, I'm going to ask again.
Familiar.
Yeah, what did we watch this week?
First, we watched a handful of PSAs from the Better World Society and the National Wildlife Federation. In the Better World Society ads, Kermit imagines what life would be like if everyone in the world lived in one house, which is illustrated by all sorts of Muppet monsters crammed into a shabby home, trying to go about life the best they can, living with the disruptions of all their neighbors. At the end of both the commercials, Kermit concludes that we do indeed all live in the same house, the dang old planet Earth. And in the National Wildlife Foundation ads, Piggy is directing rats, penguins, and a cow how to conserve energy and recycle before chasing Kermit in a mad lust. And Fozzie Bear is sorting his recycling, as Kermit tells us that we should also recycle, just like Fozzie Bear. Then we watched Big Bird in Japan, which originally aired on January 16th, 1989. Big Bird is in Japan. Unlike Big Bird in China, we don't get an explanation as to why he's in Japan. He just wanted to go to Japan, so he went and he took Barkley with him. I wonder how that always works, to take Barkley with you. And he gets to go into so many places that a dog shouldn't be allowed to go. It's because I guess they're like, that's a Muppet dog. He's not going to poop in here or something like that.
I mean, they also comment on it at one point about like what kind of tour group would like leave a dog and a bird behind.
Yeah.
And Big Bird says probably the same kind of tour group that would allow a bird and a dog to go on the tour in the first place.
I don't think anybody ever asked Big Bird how old he is, but they should. I think they assume he's a grown man.
Yeah. We'll get into Big Bird's level of incompetence, I think, in this discussion today. But it is always tricky to land that plane of, hey, he is a 6-year-old who is not usually even let to like cross the street on his own.
Right.
But yet he's just somehow ended up in Japan on a private tour by himself.
But you know what? Honestly, once people get old enough and like stuck in their ways enough, I do feel like there's not a lot of daylight between being 6 and being like 60.
Okay.
In the way that you navigate the world and just be like, I'm doing this now. Or, you know, sometimes
No, I don't know if
sometimes
I could. I'm trying to follow you. I promise. And I don't necessarily know what the hell you're talking
I
about.
don't wanna put anybody on blast, but
Oh,
sometimes
okay.
when you're traveling with older people,
Oh.
they do things where you're like, "Why are you doing that? Why are you just walking up to this person and saying, 'I want this now?' Or
Right.
why are you just wandering away?" In the similar way that
Gotcha.
you would maybe to a 6-year-old say, "Why did you ask for that in that manner?"
Okay.
Or, "Why did you end up over there?" Or, "I'm sorry you're hungry, but you need to calm down until we can find somewhere to eat,"
Yeah. Or
you know?
maybe plan ahead and think about the fact that you usually do like to eat food at 1 o'clock. So,
Yeah. So this tour group is probably really used to dealing with elderly American people who act
right.
very similarly to the 6-year-old giant bird man.
Okay. That still doesn't excuse the fact that like Gordon and Susan just let Big Bird go to Japan by himself.
I think he just goes to the library and gets on their computer and orders himself tickets probably. Or he has to go to a travel agent. He goes to the travel agent. I bet there's a travel agent on the other side of the street that we don't see. And
Mm.
he goes over there, and that person has no idea how old Big Bird is. Where does he get the money to go to Japan though? He kickstarts the money. They put he has like a little coffee can at Hooper's that's like Big Bird's vacation fund. Okay, and you know what? They want him to go on vacation because they all hate him.
Well, and especially like, Maria and Luis just had a baby.
Yeah,
They're probably like, yeah, you know what? It would be nice to have you out of our hair, Big Bird.
yeah,
So, how about you head on
and
over to the other side of the world?
and they don't. Nobody says it, but the underlying thing is maybe he won't come back this time. He has no family. No one will, no one's gonna go looking for him.
He has family.
He could just sit. I mean, he could just live in Japan, and that would be basically the same as living
That's
on Sesame
honestly
Street.
more of my problem with this is how quickly he gets homesick
Uh huh.
when nothing really that bad has happened. Yeah, it's not like he's in a terrible situation on the side of the road somewhere. Like he's in the middle of
No,
Tokyo and he's like, I'm
and people are
so
giving him free
homesick.
food.
Yeah. Like this seems pretty sweet, dude. Like you could just live here and you'd probably be fine.
Right. I thought the same thing as I was watching it, but then when I was typing this, I was like, "Oh, that is kind of scary." So I'll keep reading it because it did make me feel a little bit like to be stuck in a foreign country where nobody speaks the same language as you and
Mhm.
not know exactly where you have to get, but not know how to get there. However, I would think with their public transportation in Japan, maybe that would be one of the less scary places for that to happen to you.
Mhm.
However, the language barrier is pretty big.
That's true.
Yeah.
As we see for quite a while, there's a lot of
Too maybe
confusion.
possibly way too long. Anyway, he signed up Big Bird is signed up for a whirlwind bus tour around the country with an extremely tight schedule. And if you know Big Bird, you know this fool ain't gonna be able to handle an extremely tight schedule. So he promptly gets left behind in Tokyo, 300 miles from Kyoto, where he will need to be in order to fly back to New York in a couple of days. The language barrier turns out to be a huge issue, and he has no clue what to do. But as he mopes in a park, he's approached by a very nice Japanese lady who speaks English and tells him Japanese lady in capitals because that is her name throughout most of this, who
Yes, Big
speaks
Bird does not
English.
think to ask her until pretty much the at last scene. Oh yeah, by the way, what's your name?
The Japanese lady speaks English and she tells him that she just so happens to have to also be in Kyoto on the exact same day that Big Bird does, and she can help him get there. So the trio takes off towards Kyoto, stopping to stay the night at the home of some of the lady's friends, where Big Bird learns about Japanese home life, and then the next night at a hotel. But the weird thing is that every night, the lady disappears, telling Big Bird that she has to go say goodbye to her friends. Wherever they are in Japan, she's got to say goodbye to them, potentially forever. And she also constantly stares wistfully at the moon and she sings sad songs about the moon. And she also disappears in a shimmer of golden light. Big Bird thinks this is all mildly odd, but doesn't really look into it that much. He, as we mentioned, doesn't even ask her name. On his last day in Japan, Big Bird goes to a like a kindergarten, and he learns the tale of the bamboo cutter, in which an old bamboo cutter finds a little girl named Kaguya Hime in a golden, glowing bamboo stump, who turns out to be a princess from the moon who has to sadly say goodbye to everyone she loves when it's time to go back to the moon. That night, Big Bird finally learns his guide's name, Kaguya Hime. He thinks this name sounds familiar, but he doesn't quite put it together, even as she disappears in a shower of golden light directly in front of him. On his way to the airport, Big Bird does finally remember that the girl in the story was also named Kaguya Hime, and he runs back to where his guide was, but it's too late. She's been taken back to the moon by ghostly guards. But Big Bird doesn't see that happen. He just can't find her. Later on the plane, Big Bird decides it was silly to think that the nice Japanese lady was the moon princess, as we see her shadowy image, presumably trapped on the moon forever. And he goes back to New York, none the wiser. And
It
that's
sounds
all.
even more wild when you say it out loud.
Well, the end of this is really sad because he's like,
Yeah.
of all of the times he's met a god, this is the one time he couldn't help them and didn't even know he was supposed to try. And also, I don't know if he needed to help her, but he does say, we need to go help her. Not go back to the moon? Is that what he wanted to do? I'm not really sure.
I'm not really sure either. And I think that's my biggest issue with this special is just I feel like they keep telling us throughout that things matter or that we have to go do things. And I'm
Right.
like, right, but why? It's like, shh, don't think about that. Just keep moving forward.
Yeah. And then in Big Bird in China, the reason he went to China is just so he could meet the phoenix because they were both giant birds, and that was exciting to him.
I mean, honestly, that's at
That's
least a reason.
that's a pretty good reason. Yeah.
Whereas in this, we are joining it in media res. Big Bird's in the middle of a tour already
Yeah.
in Japan.
Right.
So
Yeah. I mean, I
yeah.
almost think for this, if they're not going to think of a quest for him,
Mm-hmm.
I don't know. They should almost like have one of the. Oh, I guess. Okay. So I guess to start with, this was my least favorite of the trilogy of Big Bird meets a god.
Yeah, same.
And I think it is mostly because he wasn't. He's never aware. It's really weird. Like he's never aware of the fact that he is in the presence of a god.
No, the villain of
And
this movie is incompetence.
yeah. And the lady's like, she should be more straight. You got to just ask for what you want, you got to be communicative. And it made me laugh every time she'd be like, and soon the time will come when you need to help me. And then she like looks off into the distance and dramatic music plays. However, she never asked him to help and never explained what she meant by that.
Yeah, she always is just the saddest, but only at the very last line of a scene.
Mm-hmm.
Like when they go to the Shimizu family's house and she's like, "Cool, you're going to stay here. I got to go." And he's like, "What?" And she's like, "The time is near when I am going to need a friend." And then disappears.
Yeah.
It's like, "Say more, just even a little bit, please."
She's really good at looking sad though.
Yeah, but that's the thing is like she's very good at both happy and sad. Like
Yeah.
I think she's great in this,
Yeah.
but her role is just very weird and not playful like the monkey
Like
god.
the Monkey King.
Yeah, the
I
monkey
miss the
king.
damn Monkey King.
Yeah, like that like the only like mystical power stuff we got was her disappearing into an orb.
Yeah. Surely they could have picked like I think there's a better folklore story they could have picked probably.
Well, maybe, but I don't even know if that's the problem because when the kids are telling the play of the folklore,
Yeah.
I was having a good time.
Yeah, but there's no the story of this the story of that
Mm.
story is she gets born
Yeah.
and then
Ages fast.
she's got to go to the moon. That's it.
Yes.
There's no like she meets all those suitors and stuff, but I was reading the Wikipedia thing and she's just like I have to go to the moon, unfortunately,
Right.
for all of
Yeah,
you.
there's not a
There's not
thing
like
in
a
there where it's
guy
like,
who's trying
unless
to
she finds these 3 ancient scrolls,
Yep.
she has to go back to the moon.
There
And then Big
is
Bird could help
no
her find scrolls.
choice. There's no choice but for her to go to the moon, basically.
Yeah.
But I don't
Well-
know, like I don't know a Japanese folklore enough to like pick another one. But
Right,
surely there is
can't.
one with some stakes of some sort.
yeah, I mean, there has to be at least one, right?
Yeah. I also felt like in Big Bird in China, we saw a lot more Chinese culture.
Mm.
We saw some dancers and we saw some like opera or something, right?
Yeah, and I think that's what's interesting is that's literally the first thing that happens in the special is Big Bird complaining that he's not going to get to meet, like, I think he says, like, real Japanese people because the tour
Hmm.
guide's like, "Oh, yeah, we'll meet some at the hotel," and he's like, "No, like, I wanna get out there and experience what it's like in
Yeah,
Japan." Like, he's honestly I'm like, "Yeah, you're smart, Big Bird. That's the way you should travel is get to know
right.
people.
This tour
Get out of the
sucks.
hotel."
Yeah.
But that's not really what happens aside from when he's meeting up with that family and he learns a few traditions and a
Right.
few words in Japanese.
Then
Uh,
it cracked me up that he does indeed stay at a hotel like that one of the other nights. Why couldn't they stay at somebody else's house or something?
you know, there's a lot of questions to be asked, but
Yeah.
we'll get into those. First, we should talk about the PSAs because
Oh
they were
yeah, yeah, yeah.
brief, and I
Right.
assume our conversation about them will also be brief. The first two were both Better World Society PSAs and are essentially the same exact PSA, just one is way more messed up and alarming.
The one where the house is a war house? Is
Uh
that the
huh.
one? Yeah.
So the
Where there's
first one,
bombs and guns everywhere?
yeah, the first one is, as Sam said, Kermit's like, "Hey, what if everyone in the world lived in one house?" And we got to a bunch of monsters in one house, messily eating in a house. One's in the bathtub. Seems like they're
They're
maybe
all making a
happy,
they're
but
happy, but they're all making a big mess. Oh, and
yes.
one's using up all the water, so the other one can't brush his teeth, and they're all
Mm-hmm.
trying to fight over the food, and they're all trying to fight over places to sleep. So
Right.
just the human condition of life on Earth,
I
basically.
believe so. Yes.
Yeah,
We see the weird pink refreshed Lothar in the
made
background,
me
who I
sad.
hate.
Lothar
Um,
had it all. He had the world, and they did this to him.
Yeah, Tug, Molly, and Boo are there, which is, always shocking to see them outside of a context
Yeah,
of Little Muppet
they're
Monsters.
not doing so hot.
Well, they also, it seems like the voices you hear are definitely not the original, like, Tug, Molly, and Boo voices. So
Right,
they have
right.
already been recycled as just generic Muppet Monster.
Yeah.
And yeah, I'm not entirely like, I get this. I understand what's being said here, but I don't know how well these land because it's what if we all lived in one house and then you see a bunch of people not really getting along, not learning a lesson, and then Kermit just goes, "We do."
Oh, I thought they landed great because it
Oh,
was we're supposed to be learning the lesson. We're supposed to be seeing this and being like, "Oh, this is how it is," you know?
right. But is there any takeaway from how it should be?
Well, I don't think there has to be. I think
Mm.
we have to see this and say we need to do better. I think that
But I
is the
think when it
lesson.
comes to Muppet Monsters, I don't know that they're not super happy.
Oh, these guys are going to be fine. That's
Right.
true.
So
That's
I'm like
true.
looking at this and I'm like, what needs to change? Like, is there a
Yeah.
problem here? Like, this is kind of typical Muppet Monster behavior. So what's the downside?
That's like I suppose that makes
The
yeah.
next one, where it's the exact same question, somebody walking through a house, but instead of eating all the food and using up all the water, they're
Right.
preparing for war.
Yeah.
That's a little bit clearer of like, hey, this seems bad. Maybe let's not be all about war.
Well, I think the lesson of the first one is I think the lesson of the first one's a little better,
Hmm.
honestly, because it is like these guys are eating all the food, then you pan over these guys, and there's none left for them.
Yeah.
These guys are using all the water, you pan over, there's none left for them. And there's
Yeah.
not an answer to it because there's not an answer to it in the real
Yeah.
world,
I think
except
maybe it's just
for,
happening so
putting
fast
some people against the
that
wall.
it doesn't land for me. Like, I don't know. I think
Hmm.
I just wanted a clearer
I
message.
think that's a good point because I did have to watch it just now in slow motion to figure out
Yeah.
what was happening. And that could be like um that could be a downside of the fact that it's so low def. Like and it probably was when I
Right.
originally
But
saw it
also, if
too.
you think about watching this on TV in 1989, you may only see this one time ever.
Right.
And like,
And you
so if you
go
don't get it your first watch through, you're just like, "Heh, that was fun."
exactly. Yeah. Yeah, I guess you're right. And we know too much about Muppet Monsters. So we do
Mm,
know they're
right.
loving this shit.
I think I just needed maybe, I don't know. I needed to like have a stronger contrast or conflict
Right.
that was more clear because to me, this felt a little bit like if these were all grouches, then I'm
Mm,
like, maybe they like this.
yeah.
Maybe this is their life. They actually think it's funny when they use up all the hot water or eat all the food. Like they sort of
Right.
live to ruin each other's days.
Yeah.
And because we don't know these monsters and Kermit's not the one being affected or something, we kind of can't just
Hmm.
make a quick assumption about how this directly relates to our world. And
Right.
so when Kermit just ends it with a very short, we do live in one house, it's the Earth, you're like, oh, okay. So I guess just be respectful of other people is sort of the message here.
So maybe it should have been like anything Muppets from Sesame Street or something like that.
Yeah, I don't know what the disconnect is. I think there's just like something missing, which will be the
Yeah.
theme of today's episode for me.
Uh-huh.
Um, that it just felt like there was something that wasn't clicking for me. And I think even as I try to explain it now about like the contrast and stuff, I don't even know if that's it.
Right.
I think I just know that there is something that didn't click for me.
Yeah.
And maybe like you said, maybe the messaging of the second one is actually weaker, but the visuals are quite striking in a way I did not expect to see so many missiles and
And a bunch of
AK-47s
guns. Yeah.
near Kermit.
It does feel this feels like something we used to see on the Muppet Show more, I think.
I mean, yes and no. This to me felt more real,
Uh-huh.
if that's weird to say. But like,
Because they're pointing their guns at what is basically a child.
well, and like real guns, not like a big toy, Yosemite Sam
Right.
gun.
Right.
And I don't trust what's happening in this room.
Yeah.
Like this feels like a scene from a movie where somebody accidentally opens a door and sees too much.
Uh-huh.
And then they're like, I you know what? I'll walk away. I didn't see anything. I won't tell anyone. And I
Oh
feel like
no,
that's
and
after we see this commercial,
oh yeah.
that's how I need to be like stepping away. Like, okay, Kermit, I didn't see that. You're good. I won't rat out Lothar.
Yeah, you're right. These guys are up to something bad.
Like,
And he's
there's
got a
gonna be
balloon
a
too.
pile of money and drugs somewhere in that house.
Dang, I want to know more about these guys now. They're pretty cool looking too.
Oh no, Sam, I don't think you're using the right lesson.
Oh,
I think you're
whoops.
supposed to watch this and go, I shouldn't be like those guys. I don't know. It was shocking, and you know, maybe it would be clearer in the 80s of
Right.
why this
Well,
imagery
yeah,
was on
I
my
mean,
television.
we're still Cold Warring, Everybody's stocking up their weapons.
Yeah. But I think with like the Better World Society, I feel like was the one where Jim was talking about the importance of TV, like the responsibility
Mm-hmm.
of using TV to teach kids things or at least not
Right.
show them terrible things because it's the one that Ted Turner founded.
Uh-huh.
And so that's where I thought maybe these would go is sort of, with the guns and stuff. I don't know that that is doing the job that Jim maybe is hoping it's doing. As we
Hmm.
saw from Sam's reaction of these guys seem cool.
They do look cool.
Like,
But
this is the thing Jim doesn't want to happen with TV and cartoon is to like glorify violence.
right.
So, yeah, I think they just missed the mark a little bit.
There needs to be like a whole special about living in this house. And I mean, it's basically like a Fraggle Rock thing, I think, where we're using up all the water. I don't know. But I mean, maybe I don't know. Maybe I think the other one is a little bit better if you think about it enough, which most people won't do, because it's easy to be anti-war, but it's harder to like pay attention to housing
Hmm.
shortages and
Using
food scarcity
resources.
and yeah,
Right.
resource usage and stuff like that. So like the message maybe is a little bit more uh more better, but and then these guys look too cool, unfortunately. But yeah, big monster house as an allegory for the planet. Just make a special.
It's been a while since I've watched it, but I have a feeling the energy of Muppets from Space probably doesn't feel that different from the first one of these PSAs.
That's the first note I took was like, I think this is what Muppets from Space was like, where they're having a crazy time in this house, but they're all together and they're all having fun.
Right, and that's not presented as like a don't do this.
Right. Right.
Well, the other PSAs we watched were a little bit more specific, if not a little bit alarming in a different way. The first one we have is a PSA that's just called Checklist on Muppet Wiki from the National Wildlife Federation, where Piggy is rocking a new short, straight hair look.
She's got a bob. It's not quite the Rachel, but we're getting there.
We're getting there. She's definitely getting ready for the 90s. But she is checking off a checklist. She is apparently in charge of the recycling efforts in this weird house the Muppets are sharing.
Yeah, it's actually the weirdest thing about this house is that it's not weird. It's just it's like really nice.
Yeah, it's a nice suburban home.
It looks like they went to the set
and
of
Fozzie and Piggy all live in the same house.
It looks like they went to the set of like Family Matters or something like that. And
said, it's not that different from
this house.
The Muppet Family Christmas house. So
I had to look and see if it wasn't the Muppet Family Christmas house, which it's not. It's actually maybe a little nicer than the Muppet Family Christmas kitchen.
That Emily Bear.
Well, I like the way that they've painted their kitchen cupboards.
Yeah. Well, Piggy is telling, the rats to go check the house insulation. They got to recycle some cans and paper. And then she's like, and we also need to save electricity, which she does by shutting off the lights and attempting to attack Kermit until he like judo flips her to the floor.
He's been taking lessons too.
Yeah, I think that was, I don't know. This was a particularly weird energy of Piggy trying to love up on Kermit.
Yeah. Hey, maybe that's what they're into though, man. Judo.
It didn't seem like it. He did throw her to the floor.
She coming back for more at the end though.
Yeah, like we've seen Piggy kissing Kermit against his will a couple of times. But this was one where she like turned off the lights, saw an opportunity, jumped on him, and then with some, grunts and noises tossed her to the floor. And we hear her out of breath trying to get up off the floor. Like this was a little bit of an altercation.
Yeah, I would agree with that. It was a bit odd. But I want to give them the benefit of the doubt and say that he finally noticed that she had a lifelong fascination with judo and karate and started taking classes. And then she was like, Kermit, all I've ever wanted is a sparring partner who I can also smooch when I have pinned. And he said, sounds good to me. And so now this is just what they do. And everybody in the house has to watch. And also they share a big house and they're doing just fine. With a bunch of rats.
Yeah. The detail of everyone has to watch is an interesting one, but
they don't have to watch, but they have
They're
to
allowed
watch.
to?
But they have to watch.
Well, the second one is a little less risque. This one is just Fozzie organizing the recycling into bottles.
Unless this is what Fozzie's into. This is his foreplay. Sorting his recycling.
I mean, sorting recycling and then making a bad joke. That's kind of all Fozzie's got going on.
The bad joke part. Maybe that is his foreplay.
Yeah. But I feel like he needs a Statler and Waldorf around to bring him down a little bit.
As we learned last week.
Boy, did we. But yeah, he's organizing the recycling into bottles, cans, papers, and snoo.
And what is snoo?
Well, I don't know. What's new with you?
That's I love joke, when at the end of it, I love when they look at each other. Kermit and Fozzie look at each other and both go,
Yeah. It's a little bit of that Muppet Show vibe again, or like the more so the unscripted Muppet Show TV
those
promos
teasers
that we've seen,
or whatever. Yeah, those were
where
awesome.
It's more of Jim and Frank messing around as opposed to Fozzie and Kermit.
It's like that. Yeah, it's like they know each other so well, and their characters know each other so well that they know what they're gonna do. So then they make fun of each other doing it in a charming way.
You're right, because it's usually Frank being like, I did the thing you knew I was going to do. And Jim being like, yeah, you sure did.
Well,
yeah, these were fine,
I really liked them, actually.
Yeah.
I have such a soft spot for Muppet commercials that,
Yeah, we talked about that a bit last week. I think you said that Muppets should always be in commercials.
Maybe it's also a little, like the gun one is also... I think we just know too much, Matt. Because it's like we saw Wilkins and Wilkins shooting each other to death. So we can't see guns in a commercial with Muppets and be like, that's a message.
Yeah, I don't know. This one did hit me more realistically than a Wilkins and Wilkins. I think because they are a Wile E. Coyote Roadrunner kind of pair,
Right.
and they are a little bit more cartoonish in both their behaviors and design, I think.
Yes.
So seeing like a room that looks
Mm.
smoky and gross and grimy, and then having like, yeah, poor little Boo get like 6 AK-47s pointed at his face
Right.
felt, because it wasn't like coming off of like, hey little kid, you drink Wilkins coffee? And he's like, no, I can't drink coffee. And they're like, like that feels like the version of that would have adapted to the 90s. But this was just a little kid walking through a house, and then he gets a bunch of guns pointed at him, and Kermit's like,
Interesting.
get it?
I wonder what I wonder what that threshold is between seeing Wilkins get shot and being like, he's fine. And
Yeah, I think the shot is an interesting detail too, because I don't know. I think if you showed this to somebody today, they wouldn't have the same reaction that a lot of people have to Wilkins and Wilkins, where they're like, whoa, Jim Henson was crazy, man. Look what he was
Yeah.
doing back in the early days.
yeah.
But I think if you showed them this, because Boo isn't gunned down, they don't necessarily have as strong of a reaction.
Even though this is a more intense commercial.
To me, at least.
Yeah.
There's definitely some Wilkins and Wilkins where I'm like, oh, fuck, Jesus. Like, that was
Right.
That was
I
a
mean,
lot.
the one where a human hand comes down with a gun and blows him away is pretty crazy. But now I'm just like, there's like something conditional about if a Muppet is invincible or not. Because like if Boo got shot in this moment, he would explode like in that
Meet the
movie.
Feebles? Yeah.
Like in
Meet the Feebles, or just like be like,
yeah, I can
just tufts of
picture
fluff.
him turning into pulp. But if he had known going into it that he was going to be in a coffee commercial where he got shot, he would just get like smoky and he'd be okay. So
What
it's
if there was
all
just
about
like
their
one
frame of
shot
mind.
misfired and you just see a trickle of blood come out of Boo's chest?
Ugh,
And that was the end of the
and
commercial.
He looks down at it, and then Kermit says, "Do you get it?"
Yeah, this is really Kermit's art film. He went to film school
Yeah.
since we last saw Kermit, and he's like, guys, I got the best idea. And it's like every student film, someone must be gunned down because I was able to borrow a gun from the prop room.
Right, like the original ending of Clerks,
Yeah,
where he's killed.
we've all done it. We've all made the short film where it's like, but what if violence? Because I am young and have not lived and don't really know much about the world yet, and I think this is dramatic.
Right, or if you do comics or something like that, same deal. Yeah, everybody's done art that's too violent or about.
Man.
I also, now you're saying it does feel like Kermit is making them all be in this situation. You're right. He's like, this is he grew up and he's like, Nanny did it to me. Now I'm doing it to everybody else.
Well, and like I'm rewatching that moment. Boo walks into the room with a balloon. The balloon does get shot.
I think it pops against the light bulb. I think that's what it's supposed to be. Or it pops on its own. And that makes everybody think that there is a gun going off.
Yes. It's filled with powder, which is concerning. But the moment Boo has all these AK-47s pointed at his face and Kermit walks in, does feel like Kermit is saying to Boo, you get it?
Oh yeah, Boo's like,
lesson learned for this kiddo.
You told me to walk into this house.
But yeah, there's so many monsters with so many guns, and they're all just cleaning their guns. Even like Shaky Sanchez, I think maybe has a grenade,
like a bullet or so. Yeah.
And there's some guys and definitely some
lunging counter monster has an AK-47. That's awesome.
Yeah, they are definitely preparing to, do some shit.
This is the basement of Muppet Theater. This is what's happening down there.
It's all been a front this whole time.
Exactly.
But I don't know. It's interesting, I think, is a good word to describe it. And I just don't know if it lands.
I've watched it maybe like 50 times while we're talking. It's so lush. It's like, it's worth watching over and over again.
Yeah, I think this is something that comes across in like the Muppet Vision pre-show, and a lot of these shorter things around this era. They're doing a very good job of having expansive sets,
Mm-hmm.
lots of puppets, lots of props, lots of things to just look at
Yeah.
the whole time. And even in Muppet Vision 3D itself, I feel like there's so much of this kind of always moving but interesting things always happening energy in like one long
Yeah.
shot.
I mean, that
So
was kind of how the Muppet Show was also like grimy, and there was always something happening in the background in a way that maybe has fallen off a little bit in the
mm,
last few years of Muppet stuff that we've watched.
well, and I will say I think they do.
Oh,
Hmm.
Fraggle Rock was like that too, though.
I
So,
think there's actually a thing about this that I think works in a way that you couldn't do in the same way on a Fraggle Rock,
mm,
and that is calling attention to itself on purpose.
okay,
Like they
yeah,
want you to notice all these little things. They want you to like take all of this in as a part of this, whether it's a show or whether it's a PSA. Like that, this is sort of the point. Is that what everything's going on? Whereas I feel like
right,
usually it's world building of Gaffer the cat is moving in the background of the Muppet Show, but it's not important.
yeah,
Or this little
right,
bug guy is shooting out of the cave in the background of Fraggle Rock. Just add some life to the place.
uh huh,
Um, this feels like a very well orchestrated,
yes.
choreographed scene where somebody had the thought of, okay, which gun should we give to Lunch Encounter Monster?
The
Yeah.
symbolism is important to figure out.
But anyway, I think we've talked enough about Muppets with guns for now. And now it's time to talk about our main event, which is Big Bird in Japan, a special produced in association with NHK, which is basically the Japanese version of PBS. They filmed it in Tokyo and Kyoto and some other places along the way. And yeah, this debuted in Japan in late fall 1988, and then on PBS in the timeline that we are watching it on January 16th, 1989.
Can you believe that that's just a guy with his arm above his head? Isn't that
I
isn't that crazy?
I did for some reason think about it more in this one than I do sometimes.
Uh huh.
Whenever he's bowing, especially when he
Yes.
bows all the way down to his ankles, where I'm like, yeah, that's not that hard. Like he just like almost touches his toes a little bit, and I'm like, yeah, I can almost touch my toes too, Carol. But yes, so often when they're in their freaking car driving around
Yeah.
dangerously, or getting shoved into cars or having to bow down really low. There was a few times that I was just thinking about it, like, oh yeah, if I had to do that, how would I hold my arm consistently in a bird-like fashion? Because I think that's the more interesting thing for me is the in-betweens where
Mm-hmm.
it'd be really easy for a less skilled puppeteer to let their arm just go slack a little bit in those moments because it'd be
Yeah.
more comfortable. But in that moment, all of a sudden, Big Bird looks like he has a broken neck or something.
I often try to imagine what it would look like if he was standing relatively normally with his hands at his sides as Big Bird.
You just see
And
like
I
a
guess
head
him
lump around the neck area, but Big Bird's
Yeah.
head is just down like on his hips.
Uh-huh. Oh yeah, he's like got his hands on his hips.
Mhm.
He's like,
He's just holding a coffee cup with Big Bird's mouth. I mean, I think, again, I'll say this 1,000 times until you do it. You gotta watch I Am Big Bird soon.
I know. I got to. You're right. Same thing with Barkley, honestly, too. Like for some reason in this one I was like, okay, Barkley's kind of cool. I don't usually like
Thank
him.
you.
But how does his mouth work?
Sam, he's a dog. He's
Oh,
just the
he's
most
just
real Muppet.
He's just real.
I love Barkley so much, and this just, like, whenever I see Barkley, I love Barkley, and in this, Barkley, I think, was the highlight for
Yeah,
me in a
I
lot of
think
scenes.
I think
Because
Barkley's
when
usually the
he
most annoying character, and in this one, he is the least annoying character to me.
when he flops down on that little, like, front room porch area,
Yeah,
I it I don't know how he's doing that
I don't
inside of
either,
there.
and it looks like it would hurt maybe.
I do like that they brought back the, like, "Hey, Barkley can walk across rocks and water," which he did,
Oh,
I think,
yeah,
in Big Bird in China or on,
he
like, a
did.
different Sesame Street thing we watched.
He did, yeah.
But, yeah, so this was directed and written by John Stone. And speaking of Barkley, Brian Meal came back to perform Barkley in this special,
Oh,
after having been gone from the Muppets for about 5 years.
what the heck? Why? Just because he got to go to Japan?
I'm wondering if it's maybe more Fred Garbo who took over. Barkley
Mm.
maybe didn't want to go or couldn't go to Japan.
Wasn't confident enough in his abilities or
Yeah,
something,
maybe.
possibly.
But yeah, so we've talked about both these guys before, but Brian Meal was the one who was a mime. He had been a member of Moominshans. He was the first Elmo, and also played Barkley.
Will he be Barkley ever again?
I don't believe so. This might be his last Barkley that he comes
Okay.
back for.
I mean,
Because
he's
Fred
fucking
Garbo at this point
going
was
for it.
still like the main Barkley until the
Mhm.
90s, I believe. So it's not that Fred Garbo stopped being Barkley for a while to let Brian Meal come back. It was just, I think, for this one-off trip to Japan.
Right. And he's jumping over stumps, he's running all over the place, he's doing so much extra stuff he doesn't need to do
Yeah.
in a good way.
And again, not to say that, like, Fred Garbo couldn't, because he was also a performer and notably a juggler, because he's
Mm.
the reason we have Garbo,
Ugh.
the scary monkey juggler on Sesame Street.
Right. Was he also the other scary juggler?
Dexter?
Yeah.
Looking it up, he was the hands of Dexter.
Oh, dear.
So Kevin Clash was the head and the voice, and then Fred Garbo was the juggling hands of Dexter. So
Uh-oh.
if you see it juggling on Sesame Street in the late 80s, early 90s, I'm guessing Fred Garbo is there.
He didn't get to be in Big Bird in Japan because they wouldn't let him leave the country because he played Dexter, and that was a felony.
Yeah, they revoked Dexter's passports.
Uh-huh.
But yeah, I'm wondering too. He is a performer, he is a juggler, but maybe he's not as like physically jumping around in the same way as Brian Meal was capable of and had proven he could do.
Right.
So maybe they just thought Brian Meal would be better for this. I think it's more interesting that in 1984, like, he left the Muppets to
Right.
go on and do other projects. Like, he would go on to be a writer and performer on Eureka's Castle.
Oh.
He's like one of the main guys on Eureka's Castle. You'd know the guy, Mr. Knack, I believe his name is.
Yeah.
He's
Yeah.
the
The
guy.
inventor guy.
Yeah. But yeah, he came back for this appearance, and also he would perform in Dog City.
He has got a lot of experience being a dog.
Yeah.
Who better?
Very different kinds of dogs, though.
That's true.
And I actually, there's an interview with him that I watched a little bit of from one of the Dark Crystal Great Conjunction fan convention things.
Mm-hmm.
That was like a Zoom interview. And he talks about how he knew nothing about hand puppetry, really, until he started working with Jim Henson. And at that point, they were like, well, what if you tried out some hand puppetry? And he's like, cool, do I get to do the voices too? And they're like, yeah, sure, why not?
Oh, okay. Cool. All you gotta do is ask.
Yeah. I think back then, yeah, there's a lot less people at the door.
I mean, they probably, if somebody asked me that and they did a good job, I'd be like, this is gonna save me so much time not having to do ADR.
I mean, Sam, I think that's, I'd like to think we're pretty decent at it too, but, part of the reason we're on SciShow Kids is because we're around.
Yeah, that's absolutely
If we
true.
left Missoula, Montana, I don't think they would fly us back in.
To be Sam the Bat or Bill and Webb. Yeah.
Yeah.
Right.
I mean, as proven.
Yeah. We have some examples, is right.
Yeah. But yeah, this is, I think Brian Meal is one of those, I think, new dream guests for me the more we learn about him.
Mm-hmm.
These days, he's mostly an author of like YA novels. He released a
wow.
book in 2020 called Blowback 94, When the Only Way Forward is Back. I think
Oh.
he has like a series of books about time traveling teens.
Okay.
So, yeah. I don't know much about the books. I can't necessarily, recommend them. Haven't read them. But
Quite
Brian Meal
a
seems like
career.
That's what I'm saying. I think he'd be an interesting chat.
Huh.
But getting into the actual special here, we do see just Big Bird and Barkley on a tour bus. And they stop in the middle of Tokyo for a 5-minute lunch break. And this is when Big Bird is concerned about how organized this tour is and how regimented and how they're just going to like drive by the spots. They get 5 minutes here, 5 minutes here. And he's not going to meet anyone outside of the hotels.
Yeah. To be clear, the 5-minute thing is like a joke. It's like, I mean, not a joke. It's real for the tour, but the joke is he only has 5 minutes everywhere he goes, basically.
Yeah.
Or like,
and that's
she
like,
says, we're going to do everything there is to do in Tokyo in an afternoon.
mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Right. And the fact that you get 5 minutes to find food and lunch in Tokyo before you're leaving Tokyo. But yeah, this is the tour guide apparently is played by Yoko Haruda, who, as well as being a performer in some ways, is was at one point an actual tour guide and interpreter.
Oh.
So I don't know. It was unclear at this point if she was still doing tours
Uh-huh.
or if she was a performer who just happened to have done tours in the past and they knew that about her. But yeah, she's also a jazz musician, I think I saw on the
Wow,
internet.
cool.
So, but he takes off on his 5-minute break with Barkley. Uh, there's some, you know, light stereotyping happening from Big Bird in the same way we saw in some other specials where he's like, "Ah, none of these people speak American."
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, I feel like there's a lot of opportunities. I probably felt this way about Big Bird in China too, where he can say stuff like that, but then maybe you need him to and he kind of does in this one, especially there's a couple times where
Mhm.
he's like, I've been a real moron. But it does seem like
Yeah.
he needs to be a little bit more like Big Bird. People in other countries exist and are just as valid as American people.
Yeah, that's the thing. He's not being, like, xenophobic. He's not
Yeah.
saying that these are bad traits that these people have or whatever, but he is just it's that thing where, "Okay, Big Bird, I need to talk to you because technically you didn't say, like, a wrong thing,
Uh huh.
but you said a thing that maybe we don't say it that way."
Yeah.
Like he says, "The people here, they all look different somehow." And then it's like a long pause, and he's like, "They all have black hair."
Yeah.
And like, it's not a joke, but it's worded almost like a joke,
Uh huh.
and it gives us too long to think in that dramatic pause.
Yeah. I would think that the goal of these travelogue kind of things are for the end to be like, actually, it's not they're not weird. But there's like an
Mm.
undercurrent of it's weird to be in another country that never quite gets
Yeah.
shaken. And at the
I
end it's
think
still like that was weird. Bye.
Yeah, and I think that's something that there's a lot of missed opportunities in this one for me. I think is the main overall feeling I have
Mhm.
is that they are just sort of honestly doing what the tour says it's going to do and
Yeah.
race through these sites
Totally.
without any extra information, without Big Bird reflecting on anything that has happened.
Right. Because I feel like at the
Because
China one, he would stop and there'd be like a guy there who'd be like, "This is this, and this is why it's important," and he'd
Mhm.
be like, "Oh, cool."
Yeah, and acknowledging why it's important or comparing it to something he knows of like, oh well, back
Yeah.
on Sesame Street we have this,
Right.
which is like that for you.
Right. And this
And
one,
I
he's actually just like, "This is basically like New York,"
mm,
which
yeah.
is whatever, but not as interesting to hear about as like I don't know, like that bridge he goes to at the end. She just says, "This is the moon watching bridge." Okay.
I wonder if at the time, if there was something, helpful about him in this
Hmm.
moment when he and Barkley are walking around with the guidebook and he's
Right.
reading the book about paper houses made of wood. And he's looking around. He's like, I don't know what they're talking about. This place looks like New York.
Yeah.
If that
Right.
was maybe actually breaking some
Demystifying
stereotypes
things. Yeah.
and
Right.
exposing to the rest of the world of, hey, look, we got big cities here too. Like,
Yeah.
quit thinking we're just paper houses.
Yeah. I mean, maybe it's like another part of this might be it's easier, it's like more common to know things about Chinese and American relations than it is maybe about
Mm.
Japanese and American relations. So there could be like a whole thing that we don't understand. If we grew up in the 80s, we would understand better.
You're also living in a very different time
Hmm.
that is a lot less removed from World War II
Right.
than we are now.
Right.
So, American attitudes towards Japanese people, very different still in the 80s. But even our understanding of the country at all, I'm sure for a long time was just one of those things that we don't talk about. We don't want to learn more about. We're going to assume the worst.
Hmm.
Uh, so I don't know. Yeah, like this, I don't know if it was necessarily opening up as many doors as the Big Bird in China, where it was like, the first time an American publication had been made and da da da. I don't think it's quite that, but I have to imagine there is some work being done here that is maybe more apparent if you're watching this in 1989.
Right. But was there also the story of like John Stone went to China and he was like, "This place rules, and let's make a thing here." Is that right?
I mean, I think the fact that there is more stories about Big Bird in China than there is
Mm-hmm.
about Big Bird in Japan
Mm-hmm.
shows that a little bit. And if you happen to watch I Am Big Bird, there's a ton in that special about the trip to China.
About going to China. Maybe that's what I'm thinking of. Is that
And I
that
don't
was
think
just
there's
like,
as
yeah,
much about the trip to Japan.
right.
I think it may have been just another, like, hey, let's do another one. This is the moment where we first get our first Ohio from some Japanese citizens to Big Bird, because, as we learn in the special, Ohio means good morning in Japan. But Big Bird assumes that anyone who greets him with Ohio is saying they are
That
from
they're from
Ohio.
Ohio because that's how people talk
Yeah.
anywhere.
It'd be better if he was like, oh, New York.
Or maybe if he thought they were saying he was from Ohio, he's like, no, no,
Yeah, he's like, no, I'm from New
no,
York,
no,
not
no, no, no,
Ohio.
no. I couldn't possibly be
Um,
from Ohio. But this is the part of the special I remember because I think my dad thought it was so funny. Uh,
right.
and he'd be like, "Oh, another nice couple of guys from back home," which is pretty funny.
There's an unusual amount of people here from Ohio.
Yeah, but it'd be like if I walked up to you and said, "Butte, ah, wherever you're from,
I
Champagne
mean,
or whatever."
Champagne. I'm not from
Where
Champagne.
where are you from?
It's honestly, it's too boring to tell. But just
Chicagoland
around
area.
Chicago, yeah,
Yeah.
but not Champagne. But yeah, I know you had mentioned back when we talked about Big Bird in China, and just throughout the years in this podcast, that you had seen this one as a kid.
Yeah.
How did it hold up to your memories of it? Were there things that you were straight up just going, "Oh, this is the scene where that happens,"
You
or
know
did you
what?
just remember Ohio?
You know what? My dad might have just said that, and I never saw this in my
Ah,
life because I didn't recognize one single. Yeah, I think actually the one part where I had the slightest glimmer, and the more I'm thinking about it, the more it's coming to me, is
mhm.
when Barkley's seeing those scary statues in the temple and he runs away.
I mean, that would stick with you, I
I
think.
do think I think that was in my head when I saw that part. I was like, oh, when he's sitting on the when they're sitting on that bridge and nice Japanese lady says, "Stay here," to when he sees those monsters. That part
Mm,
sticks out to me. When I was little, there was like when scary stuff would happen in shows, it would really like stick in my brain. Like that Eureka's Castle we watched, where the monster
yeah, the
that
Halloween one.
genuinely pretty scary monster is like looking in people's windows. That stuck with me, and that part was the only part where I was like, okay, because I feel like I remember a extended scene of Big Bird talking on the phone, and
Hmm.
that must someday we're gonna see something where Big Bird's talking on the phone, and I'm gonna say that's it. But I could have sworn he was on the phone for a while in this special. But yeah, most of this did not ring a bell to me. It's possible I was 1.5 when I watched it, or 2 or
Right.
something like that.
And then your dad kept the Ohio joke going.
Ohio, yeah. Another
So you're
nice
like, I
couple of
remember
folks
that.
from back home. Yeah. I remember him saying that. Another nice couple of folks from back home. But that's it.
Yeah, I had definitely never seen this before. So I didn't necessarily know what to expect. And I think, obviously, having seen Don't Eat the Pictures and Big Bird in China,
Uh-huh.
I
You
wasn't
knew what
completely.
to expect. It was that he will meet a god for some reason.
Yeah, a predictable outcome at this point, surprisingly.
Uh-huh.
This is the less fun version of that, again,
Yeah,
because there are no stakes, really.
right.
But I think this one just was missing something. It lacked a little bit of charm for me. The story doesn't really flow that well. I don't know. I guess that's my overall feelings. How did you feel sort of overall?
He spends too much time doing everything. So like I guess like to go
But
through what he
not in like
does.
a meaningful way.
Right. So like he misses the bus. He walks around, he misses the bus. That's fine. He goes the first thing he does is he's hungry, so he goes to a restaurant. He tries to order food and he spends a really long time pointing at the fake food in this
Oh my god.
display, and the guy is like, "You can't eat that. That's fake food." But it's like sweaty cuz it's like the dude could be like, "All right, come in. I'll make you the food." But for
Mhm.
some reason, it's like this guy's being stupid and Big Bird's being
Well,
stupid.
and they do
Where
it
Big
outside,
Bird's,
and they do it again inside when the plates
yeah,
come, where Big Bird's like, "No, that's Barkley's. This one's mine." And the guy's like,
yeah,
"This ain't real food." And he's like, "No, That one's Barkley's. This
Yeah.
one's mine. You're
But
like,
like if they both
whew.
spoke the same language, maybe Big Bird would be like, "Yeah, I don't want the food in the little window." Obviously, like
Yeah.
there's no like establishing that he's like, "I'm gonna eat this food or I'm gonna fucking flip out."
Right. Like, yeah, if like you know, in the special, what we get is they're pointing at the display food. The guy's like, you shouldn't eat that. That's not food.
Yeah.
And Big Bird's like, I want this one though. And he's like, okay. And he brings in the plaster, like the fake food from
Yeah,
outside,
and it's
brings it
literally a
inside.
statue of food.
Yeah. And then Big Bird goes to bite it and he's like, oh, this sucks. And then the guy brings him real food. I think it could have worked maybe a little better if he had brought him the real food like first. And Big
Yeah.
Bird's like, this ain't what I ordered. I ordered the fish in the window.
I mean, it might have worked a little bit. There's also another weird part where Barkley is brought fish and he won't eat it, but he doesn't ever end up eating it. So you never learn like, oh, it's okay to eat different food. It maybe would have worked better if they had brought him food and he had been like,
Mm,
what is this? This is so weird. This is sushi. This isn't even cooked. And then he eats it and he's like, this is delicious. But I don't know. There's just like nothing to learn from that exchange. And that's a lot of this is like you learn how to visit a Japanese person's house, which is great. But that's literally like in the whole thing, all that you learn and the story of the bamboo cutter. Like
yeah,
there's no interesting sightseeing or cultural exchange or anything. It's just a lot of like being in the same like when he's in that park walking around like the park school, but he's singing that song about being homesick for so
Sam.
long.
These are maybe the worst Sesame Street songs I've ever heard.
I really like the Going to Kyoto song. I thought that one was funny.
I think there's some charm in there, but again, one of the things that goes on for way too long is that song in particular, because there's even a point
Uh-huh.
where you're like, well, clearly that was the end of the song. And they're like, yeah, going to Kyoto. And you're like, oh, okay, we've got more.
I liked it. It reminded me of those Family Guys where Stewie and Brian would go on a big trip.
Yeah.
And I liked that.
I also like the one line where it's, we're off to Kyoto, 300 miles or Soto. I've got feathers. He's got fleas. I speak Japanese.
That was a great line. I wrote that one down because come on.
But the line, we're off to Kyoto like Dorothy and Toto, I'm like, that doesn't really make sense. You just thought Toto rhymed with Kyoto.
Well, there's a dog and a not a dog going on a trip.
All right, I didn't think about the dog thing because he's a bird and not a lady in a farm.
Yeah, the
Uh,
dog is the dog is the dog is the dog. You know?
I would love to see a Wizard of Oz scene, though, with Big Bird with some little bows in his hair
Yeah.
and Barkley trying to get into a basket he's carrying on a bike.
There's a weird part that feels like something got cut out too, where
I think that there's a few things.
yeah, well, okay, we'll get to that one eventually and I'll remember it because it was weird. But yeah, then like he meets the lady in the park and I feel like they talk forever where he's like, I gotta go to Kyoto. And she's like, I gotta go to Kyoto. And he's like, can we go to Kyoto? And she's like, I got just the way to go to Kyoto. Should we go to Kyoto? We're going to Kyoto. And it's just
Yeah.
like, what are you
There are a
talking
few
about?
moments where it seems like Big Bird should just be like, yes, so let's
Yeah,
go?
let's
Like,
go
what are we
to
waiting for?
Kyoto, I guess. This seems like it's been solved, but
Yeah, but before that moment, we do have one of my favorite parts, which is, of course, Big Bird getting super pissed off at Barkley, which is an overreaction to having missed the bus.
oh
And it's something that I think he also did similarly in Big Bird in China. I feel like he yells
yeah,
at
I think he
Barkley.
yelled at Barkley and Barkley like left or something.
Yeah. And this one, Barkley is just used to it by now.
Right.
They get back, the bus is gone. He's upset because their money, all their stuff, their plane tickets, it's all in the bus. And he yells, do you have any money? Of course not. You're a dog. And Barkley, can't even speak, so he can't defend himself
Yeah.
here. But really, it's on Big Bird to keep track of time here.
Barkley understands English, though, don't you think? Right?
Yeah, but can he
Doesn't
read a clock?
No, I mean that's not his fault. I'm not saying it's his fault, but I'm saying sometimes when I say something mean to my cat, Rachel's like, she knows what you're saying, even if he
Right.
doesn't know what you're saying. Barkley knows what he's saying, and Barkley's thinking, "That's fucking bullshit, Big Bird."
In our household, it's Devin trying to very nicely talk to Ginny in like full sentences
Oh
of
yeah.
like, Ginny, no, you can't do that because of this reason, because of this. And I'm like, oh, my love,
Yeah.
I wish that would work. It'd be
Just
so great if she could comprehend this.
just give her a little nudge with your foot. That's gonna get the point across,
Yeah.
right?
Well, this is the point in the special where Big Bird and Barkley realize they are hungry. They do the whole pointing at the fake food thing.
For so
The
long. This was
for so
actually
long.
also I've never paused one of these Big Bird things to see how much longer was left. But this one was
Mm.
like Muppet Baby level where I was like, surely we're halfway done. And we were like 12 minutes in.
This one does have a handful of moments where I paused it and just sort of took a break.
Yeah.
And I was the way I was watching it was like on my CRT TV, hooked up in a way where I couldn't actually see the time remaining.
Oh.
So I would pause it and it would just be like on a pause screen, and I'm like, I either have 20 minutes or 52 minutes left. Like I have no clue how much of this is
That's too
left.
bad. That's too bad.
I would have liked, not that we need more of this, but there's the whole I'm sorry I'm not more educated to speak about this. But the Sampuru, I believe, is what it's called,
Mhm.
which is the fake food models that they make in Japan that look
Oh, yeah.
extremely realistic. And I
Uh-huh.
assume this would probably fall into that.
Yeah.
Uh, because they're often, they're these like plastic wax uh, food things that look incredibly real, but they put them out in shop windows for you to know what you're going to get. And I've always been fascinated by like the making of those things. Uh, so I feel like it maybe, I'm not saying this would have been better, but could have been interesting if Big Bird kept going from like place to place, being like, "Wow, all this food is
Just a
terrible."
tour of a very niche Japanese interest that he has.
Yeah,
That
and
would
that's
be
mostly
awesome if he
because it's
got off the
more
bus.
interesting to me.
He's like, Barkley, we're here for our big Japanese Sampuru tour. That would honestly be awesome. Or I think one thing that I wrote down was like Big Bird is terminally uncurious in this special. Like he's in a
Mm,
bad mood the whole time and doesn't
yeah,
want to engage with anything. But I feel like a Big Bird normally would say, "This food's fake. That's really weird." And then
yeah.
the person would say, another thing is like they leaned in really hard to nobody in Japan speaks English. But
Mm.
for this, even if that's true, which I have no idea, for the sake of making a TV show, maybe you should make it so everybody he runs across speaks English too, so they can say, "Yes, Big Bird, and this is cool because." But that never happens. He just doesn't understand anything anybody's saying for the whole thing except for one person. But yeah, if you learn more about the things, or he was like, "Oh, I've had a misunderstanding. Here's the truth behind the situation." But that just doesn't happen.
I think a lot of times in Sesame Street, we see Big Bird do something kind of stupid or whatever,
Mhm.
but at the end, he's usually laughing about it, like, "Oh, I can't believe I did that.
Yeah, totally.
This is so interesting." Where in this, he's just like, "Ugh, I can't believe I ate bad food."
Yeah, I can't believe I can't speak the language. I can't believe I ate bad food. I can't believe. Yeah.
Even the learning about the chopsticks thing, I feel like wasn't enough of a moment.
Mhm.
Like, it felt like it should have been like a cultural, exchange moment.
Right.
But all it leads to is a line in a song later of Big Bird being like, "I can't use a fork here."
Yeah, but you did eating with the chopsticks was impressive. That felt like something else where Carol was like, "How about I use chopsticks as a Big
Yeah.
Bird?"
What if I eat with chopsticks on rollerblades? And John Stone's like, "Pick one."
Yeah, I almost feel like he needed, I don't know if I said this already. He needed to have one of the Sesame Street adults with him to to like guide him through this or something. Cuz this lady's no help. She keeps disappearing all the time.
So that's when they end up in the park and they sing the song Homesick, which was written by Tony Geiss, who was a staff writer and songwriter for Sesame Street. And yeah, this just didn't feel earned to me in this moment. I felt like he was as sad as he is in like Follow That Bird,
Right.
but
But
I
in Follow That Bird he's been kidnapped.
yeah, and he's been away for a long time. Like the fact that he jumps to the lyrics in this when you're lost on the other side of the world and no one will ever find you.
Yeah, and surely people know he's in Japan, and they will. I don't
Yeah.
know. They'll figure it out.
Well, yeah. He's also in Tokyo, so it's not like he's even in a rural area of Japan where, he could find an American embassy or something and figure
Yeah.
out how to get home.
Yeah, and maybe this is where you kind of miss the establishing scene of him on Sesame Street, or like
Yeah.
learning a little bit more about the reason that he's on the trip, because like I don't know. I mean, they I don't know how they would find him, but there must be a way to find him, and surely they know what tour group he went on,
I
and
mean, if
probably
they can
would be
track his movements across the country and follow that bird based
right.
on seemingly nothing,
Yeah.
I think they could track him down.
Yeah, I'm sure that's their it just happens every other week for them, basically. They have to go on a big
Pull out the
international
big map.
Yep, we gotta get all our cars going again. I think there was a point in this song where, I mean, I was like, "It's over," and then I started paying attention again, I was like, "Ah, it's still
Yeah.
going." So surely he
Mhm.
sings about other stuff later on, but I don't know.
Well, no, this is the moment when he switches to the when you're lost on the other side of the world and no one will ever find you.
Uh-huh.
That is the moment where I also thought this song was done
Yeah.
because he's walking through the park and you're like, all right, there was a nice little moment there. And then he starts walking up this staircase with Barkley and just is like, I've got more to say.
There's more to my song. I'm very sad.
But yeah, this is like an obnoxious, selectively incompetent version of Big Bird, which is like my least favorite version of Big Bird.
Uh-huh.
Where when he's super childlike and getting into scrapes because doesn't actually know what he's doing, or has to be like, what's voting? Teach me about voting.
Right.
Like, that's fine. I can like accept that Big Bird and like that Big Bird. But when he's like competent enough to like know about a tour guide in Japanese and where they are in
Yeah.
Tokyo and all these things,
Right.
but then is like, I guess I'm lost forever.
Yeah.
I
It's
just
like,
don't love that Big Bird.
obviously, you obviously booked this trip, Big Bird. You could book yourself another flight out of Tokyo
Right.
and use Gordon's credit card, which you have memorized.
That's on the bus. Well, yeah, as he finishes this song
Yeah, maybe
is when
he just steals somebody's wallet every time he wants to go on a trip. I didn't know it was wrong.
yeah, Grover taught him how. I feel like Grover would be
Oh,
really good at like
Grover knows how to
sneakily.
steal a wallet for sure.
Mhm.
Yeah, Grover's like, yeah, he's doing all kinds of fraud. He's always like changing how much Mr. Johnson leaves him as a tip when he's at
Yeah,
the
Mr. Johnson
restaurant.
gets charged twice for every meal.
Yeah.
And one of those charges just goes right into Grover's pocket.
Yep.
Well, as he finishes his song, this is when a Japanese woman is like, "Hey, you want to know the Japanese word for homesick? It's homesick." And he's like, "Hey, you speak English. Let's be friends."
Hmm.
Big Bird explains to her what happened to him, recapping most of what we have seen already
Yep.
in this 10 minutes of special. And that's when he remembers, sort of mid conversation, of like, oh, right. I'm supposed to get to Kyoto in a couple days.
And not in a couple. They're very specific in this in a way that I thought was going to pay off. Where he's like, I have to be in Kyoto on the 15th,
Yeah.
and she's also like, I also have to be in Kyoto on the 15th. And I suppose
Yeah.
that's the day of the full moon or something, but they don't really ever like bring that back
Yeah.
around.
But she offers to drive him, I think, in her friend's car or something, she says. Like, she's going to borrow a car.
She's got a lot of specifics in a way that is like what people do when they lie, you know, where it's like,
She's like,
I got my
cool.
friend's
When
car.
you get to Kyoto, I'm going to drive us to Hakone, and then we'll take a trip to Kyoto. A real fast
Yes.
train. Don't you worry. We're not going to be late.
And I have a friend who lent me his car, and it's okay that I have this car, I swear.
Pretty badass looking car, too.
It's
I
a
just gotta
dope
say.
car, yeah.
It's got like a weird like truck bed thing that's perfect for Barkley to get into.
Uh-huh. But also the way she's just always like, I have to go say goodbye to everyone. And we never see like who any of the everyone she's gonna go say goodbye to, or if she's just like wandering around the woods being sad all night, or what's going on with her.
Yeah, I was like starting to wonder if she was trying to say goodbye to like the people of Japan.
Yeah, I have to go say goodbye to every single person.
Yeah, I was kind of confused because the only people we ever meet who she seemingly would know is the family that she drops off
Right.
Big Bird and Barkley with, but then she vanishes.
And doesn't, yeah. But then I thought she was a ghost because
Yeah.
nobody had seen her to that point. But then the next morning, she's just sitting there with the family talking to them.
She's just there at breakfast and they're like, hey, here's our old friend
Yeah.
whose name we won't speak.
And she's our old friend who was apparently a child, like very recently, who grew up into an adult woman.
That's the other thing is how fast did this aging happen? And was she a child like last week?
And also, I thought she was dying also for some like that. She had some
Yeah.
kind of disease or something.
It did seem like that when even before they head out, she's like, I have to say goodbye. And she like looks off in the distance.
I
I'm
love
like,
that.
because she says, sayonara, Tokyo. In
And
like
then
the
looks-
saddest way anyone's ever said those words.
Yep.
And I'm like, what's about to happen? Like, maybe she's magical, but is she actually still dying?
And I feel like these kind of shows usually are like I have a secret, and then the viewer learns the secret immediately, even though Big Bird doesn't know it. I thought it was kind of interesting,
Right.
even though the answer to the mystery was kind of a letdown. I did think it was interesting that they had absolutely no interest in letting us know what was going on with her at all
No.
until basically like the very last second.
Yeah, because there's so many moments where she's just staring like off into the distance or
Yeah.
disappearing.
And you're like, what? How does she disappear? But they don't let you know until you piece it together yourself, I guess, with the
Well, and
with the
even when
bamboo
they
cutter.
do the bamboo cutter story, it doesn't necessarily. It's not like,
not one to
and
one
every night
exactly.
she disappears into a golden orb, and you're like, oh, I know a lady
Right.
who does that.
Right. And like this lady doesn't have 5 suitors or whatever. Like I don't
Right.
know.
There's not men following them. She's like, hey, we got to leave Tokyo. This guy, obsessed
Well,
with me.
that's whose car it is. She stole one of their cars.
Ooh, I like this con man idea.
Yeah.
And she's like, I know a guy with a car. We'll be fine.
That's who she's
He-
going
he
to
loves
say
me.
goodbye to all of the guys and then like
I have to say goodbye to a lot of very rich, handsome, fit guys
Yeah.
who will not leave me alone.
Yep. She shows up in like a mink stole or whatever. Big Bird's like, that's beautiful. Thanks.
Oh, I like that undercurrent. And there's nothing in the show to disprove that. So
Yeah.
we
She's got
can say
big
that's
diamond
true.
rings on and stuff. In the story, she's one of the people in love with her is the Emperor of Japan, and she
Mm,
does mention that the Imperial Palace is where one of the places they're going, or like will be in the town that they're going to.
right. Well, this is when we get the going to Kyoto song, which we have talked about. And yeah, they're going to drive not all the way to Kyoto, but I guess
Yeah.
part of the way to Kyoto.
Yeah, you could make driving 300 miles doesn't take that long.
No, that's when she was like, yeah, let's drive halfway and then we'll take a fast train to get the rest of the way. I'm like,
So driving 150 miles takes not long at all.
yeah, well, but it's also, it's like a 6-hour drive. That's, kind of what here to Seattle is.
I guess I assumed she had to drop the car off somewhere, maybe. I'm not really sure. It's like so specific that then when it's not, it's confusing. How's this guy
Yeah.
getting his car back?
Well, she doesn't even say like what's in Hakone. Like she's just like, we'll drive our car to Hakone and then we'll take a train.
And then I gotta go. I'm not staying with these people. What am I doing?
The
I
Shimizu
don't
family is just a people she knows who are maybe going to look after this car now.
I'm not
Unclear.
sure. Yeah.
But they do get there to the family's home, and there's a big conversation about Big Bird needing to take off his shoes and learning to bow when you meet someone. And the deeper you bow, the more respect you're showing them, which leads to Big Bird bowing all the way down to his ankles.
We get a lot of mileage out of this bowing thing.
And by him taking so long to remember that he does not, in fact, even wear shoes.
Yeah.
But after that sweet, fun little moment of him learning to bow and then realizing he doesn't wear shoes, we get another weird moment of the lady turning and saying, the time is near when I'm going to need a friend.
And
There are many people I must visit and say goodbye to, and I don't have much time.
And Big Bird completely fails her in being a friend. At
Yeah,
no
he's like,
point.
cool,
Yeah.
I'll be here.
And even later, like, he just never knows what's going on. So she must be so
Hmm.
frustrated. Well, she can't be frustrated with him because she can't be frustrated because she didn't let him in on it.
No, but also, like you said, it's a lack of curiosity.
Yeah.
Like, Big Bird is not asking
He's
why.
like, why do you keep
or
saying
why
stuff
aren't you
like that?
staying with us? Or where'd you go?
Right.
Like, which I feel like I saw Tough Pigs had an article about this that was like literally almost 20 years old or something. Like it was a very long time ago. This page about this special was written, but in there they accredited some of this to just moon magic
Oh,
is
yeah.
sort of the reason she's able to get away with these things.
Right.
So for some reason, Big Bird's like, "Hey, Barkley, you got to stay in the front room. You can't come meet the family." So yeah, he stays in the front room as Big Bird goes to meet the host's grandparents and just overbows all
More
the way down to the
bowing.
floor.
More bowing is occurring.
But then they take Big Bird to the bedroom to sleep and show him his futon, like a cushion on the floor. And he thinks it's just like a blanket on the floor and looks at us and goes, "She forgot the bed."
And then somebody should come in and say, here's why we sleep this way, or this
Yeah.
is just what happens.
Yeah, or we would see Big Bird figure it out
Right.
or like learn something at all.
And bro, you sleep on sticks.
You are on a pile of sticks. That is very true. It's not like he's like, "I miss my mattress." But that's when two little girls come in and bring Barkley some fish to eat, which he is very unsure about.
And he never actually eats them, I don't think.
No, he's going to starve. Well, the mystery lady at this point is going out to stare at the moon. And this is one of the moments where she disappears into a golden orb.
As Big Bird's watching her, right? Or does he watch that part?
I don't remember if he's
He's
watching
looking
at
at
this point.
the window. I think he sees her maybe, but I can't remember.
Yeah, because there's one point at which I feel like he's yelling out to her and she's sort of ignoring him.
That's what I thought too. He just wants to go home. He does not like Japan. He doesn't want to get really embroiled in any of this stuff. He's perfectly aware something supernatural is going on and knows how these things goes, and he's just like, nah, not this one.
Yeah, I'd rather not, actually, if I could just get home. Ugh. Well, then they just cut to the next morning. It's breakfast time. Big Bird's coming into the dining area, and the mysterious lady is also there.
It is
this
not
is
a
when she-
ghost. This is the first time she talks to another living person.
Yeah. Presumably, whoever she got the car from, she also had to say, "Hey, me, this bird, and this dog are going to take your
This
car."
is the first time we see her interact with anybody, though, besides
Yes.
Big Bird.
Which does lead to her very quickly saying, "Ohio means good morning, Big Bird."
Yeah, thank you.
Thankfully, someone's finally stepping in to clarify some things.
Right.
And it also leads to Big Bird learning some more Japanese in a song called Ichi Ni San to learn how to count 1, 2, 3.
Ah,
And
this is a
there's a
nice
few
little
other-
part. I like
It's
that.
very cute, very Sesame Street. There's some other, Japanese phrases tossed in there too that he can learn.
Mhm.
He does not use any of them ever in the rest of the
He
special.
never meets another single person, so
Yeah, I guess that's true, huh?
he sees a lady at that weird hotel they go to, and that's about it.
And he also gets
all those kids at the grade school.
Yes, he gets herded by some strange kids
Yeah.
into a school for no good reason.
Yeah, and he's like, oh, we can stop at this grade school for a little while. That's fine.
Yeah, that's one of the moments Barkley is like, "I really wish I could talk because this is idiotic." I'm trying to piece together now like the math of how long this trip is actually taking them. Because if they could have just driven straight through to Kyoto in 6 hours,
Mm-hmm.
they instead drive to this family's house, which we don't know where the family's house is.
Right.
But the next day is when they drive to Hakone, I think. So
That seems right. I thought they
Yeah,
only had
'cause-
2 days, but
well, then they get on the train after that. But I think there might be 2 nights spent. One with the family and then the other one in the hotel.
yes, that's true.
So again, you spent 48 hours trying
Making
to travel.
a 6-hour trip. Well, she's got a lot of people to say goodbye to, everybody in Japan.
If we saw one of them, though, that would be great.
That would have been nice if she had gone in and said goodbye to those people or something. But
Mm-hmm. Yeah, it's also worth noting that Hakone is only about an hour outside of Tokyo. So they started driving from Tokyo, stopped halfway somewhere at a family's house to stay for the night, and then drove the next day like another half hour.
maybe the traffic out of Tokyo is
But I feel like you must be
Bad.
able to take a train from Tokyo to Kyoto.
sure.
I don't think you have
Yeah,
to drive to
the-
Hakone to catch a train.
The amount of time between waking up at that family's house and then going back to bed is nothing, basically.
Mm-hmm.
And it's the middle of the day also when they stop at the hotel and she's like, Go to sleep, Big Bird. Maybe she hates Big Bird too. And she's like, I'm so sorry that I picked up this guy to help me on my quest. So I guess I'll just go back to the moon. Yeah, all they do in between waking up is go to see Mount Fuji from afar, and then Barkley gives her the bamboo stick because somehow Barkley knows that she's the bamboo princess.
Right, yeah, because she's like, "Oh, smart dog,"
Yeah, he's a
and
smart guy.
Big Bird's like, "Pff, "Smart dog, he didn't even fetch."
But Barkley's like, yes, I know my Japanese folklore.
Which I enjoy the idea that Barkley is smarter than Big Bird. Like that's
Yeah,
kind of
me too.
fun.
I do too. I think we had accidentally said that he went with Snuffy to Japan. I
I
think,
think this was maybe an in-person conversation we had with a friend.
yeah, and that would have been more interesting, I think. I think Snuffy and Big Bird in Japan, they could have gotten into some real scrapes together.
He ain't gonna fit in that car as
He's
easily though.
he's not going anywhere, yeah. Snuffy's just like, I guess I live in Japan now.
When they finally arrive, the lady's still being sad and weird, and we don't know why. So she sings the song "Moon, Moon," where she's singing to the moon, and we don't know why.
This
She's
whole
so
part
sad.
this whole part kind of reminded me of Twin Peaks because he's that hotel he goes into is so like liminal space, and
Mm.
nobody really like looks at him or pays any attention to him, and he's just sort of like wandering around this way too big of a building.
Right, like, this is an opportunity, I feel like this is where you teach him about the beds. Like, maybe last night he couldn't figure out the bed, and so he slept in a chair, or he went outside and slept on sticks or something like that to be
Yeah.
like, "I don't know, they didn't give me a bed, this is what I had to do." But then the next day, he goes to a hotel, and they're like, "Why are you sleeping in the sticks? This is your bed." And they explain it to him so
Or
that he
maybe
and we can learn something.
or maybe um you don't focus your special around going to bed twice within like 10 minutes.
Especially now that, like, I feel like when we watched Big Bird in China, we were looking at like, holy shit, they're like covering
Yeah,
most of China. Like they're going from side to side, back and forth multiple times. Like they're traveling across most of that country.
right.
Um, and so it would make more sense in that one to do like we gotta sleep sometime.
Yeah.
But they don't do that in this one. They are traveling apparently a total of 6 hours if you drove it all, and making it last like 3 days. And I think part of for me, a sign that something isn't working is if I'm thinking this much about the travel logistics.
Yeah, it's like the most interesting part of the whole thing.
When then the next morning he's being herded into a kindergarten. At first, I was like, "Oh, this must be the little girls that were giving Barkley food, and then he was counting with at breakfast." And I was like, "Oh no, wait, they left. They did
Uh-huh.
not stay last night with the family. So these are just random kids herding Big Bird and Snuffy.
Yeah. It's not
No,
like
nope,
he's
not
like,
Snuffy, Barkley, into a school.
yeah, he's not like, these are my new friends. I will go to school with them, which would have made
No.
more sense.
Yeah, all he says is pretty much as he's being herded is like, "Oh, it's a kindergarten or whatever." And then's like, I guess we can stay. But we don't know why he's here. Is this the part you were thinking of when you said something might be cut?
Oh no, it was when he goes to bed. It's when he goes to bed at the family's house. Cause he's
Oh.
like, she helps me and then she disappears. I don't even know who she is. Maybe she's the Lone Ranger. And then he goes to bed, and then then like the like dream sequence chimes play,
Mm.
And it's
Like maybe we
like,
would have gotten a weird Lone Ranger fantasy.
yeah, not that that would have been good or anything,
Mm-mm.
but
Sounds like a bad idea.
not like that's like a part of Japanese folklore, but it does play the chimes of like he's about to have a dream sequence about it. But what did you think was cut out?
Well, this was, I think, just not a specific thing, but in this moment, I was so confused about why we're going to a school
Yeah, especially on
because
the day he has to go catch his flight later, I think.
they're trying to catch the
Oh,
train.
the train, that's right. Yeah.
So seemingly, him and Barkley were just walking down the street trying to get to the train station,
Uh-huh.
and along the way, some children just decided to push them towards their school,
Yeah.
and Big Bird thought this was a good idea.
Right. And yeah, the lady like leaves him alone again. She's like, I got some shit to do. And then Big Bird's like, I'm confident I won't miss the train. Huh?
And to be fair, they don't.
They don't miss the train. He tries his
But
best to miss the train though.
yeah. but I was very confused about how they got to this school and why, and there is no reason given.
No.
Like, we don't see in my head, I'm like, maybe there was a scene where Big Bird was waiting outside the hotel and he saw some kids playing and he was like, "What's happening over there?" And he
Yeah.
wanders over to some kids. I don't know. In this, we cut from the moon, lady being sad, to Big Bird and Barkley walking into a school.
Wandering into a school, being beckoned by children.
But the teacher announces that it's time to go see the play about the Bamboo Princess, which honestly, I think is my favorite part of the whole special.
Yeah, me too.
Because these little kids are cute and very good in their
The
play.
play is great. The costumes are great. The story's nice.
It's narrated by Pat Morita.
Yeah, that too.
Which is
that's cool.
A wild, crossover. But yeah, the story of the bamboo cutter finding a child inside a bamboo stump. And, I just enjoyed this as a play.
Yeah.
I don't know if it would have been better to see this at a different point in the special to help fill in some gaps or something.
Right.
But we learn about the rich, powerful, famous, handsome men coming to court the princess. And she's like, "I'm a princess from a palace on the moon, and I am only placed here for a short time, so I can marry no man of earth."
I think it would have been better if any of this had been actionable on the part of Big Bird. He doesn't do anything with this information, and in fact,
he doesn't even really understand what's
Yeah.
happening because presumably he's not hearing Pat Morita.
he forgets it. I think he is. I think it's on that record that she turns on, right?
Okay. There is a diegetic reason for that to happen.
Oh, they start a record, which is
I thought that
an
was just the music in the
English
background.
narration of. Yeah, I mean, maybe the real explanation is that he doesn't understand a single word that's being said, so he can't
He's like,
actually.
"That was cute. I don't know what
I
happened,
don't know
but it was
what it
cute."
was about, but he does know the name Kaguya Hime, so
That's true.
he hears Pat Morita. They're like, this is what we play when we have a English speaking person. We do this whole little song and dance
Yeah.
for them.
Like, "Hey, you like Happy Days?" We got that guy on a record. But yeah, I do love in the play, she says, the little girl says, "A mission is coming from the moon to take me back," which opened up a whole other, what are we about to see?
Yeah.
And I will say, aside from the play, the other highlight of this for me is the scene where she gets taken away.
That part was badass.
That is too good for the rest of the special.
Yeah.
And honestly, should have been filmed in 16:9 cropped letterbox on film or something.
On Criterion. It should be
They're definitely trying, I feel like, to lean into a Kurosawa black and white vibe.
Yeah.
And they do a pretty good job.
I agree. Yeah. And the effect they use. So yeah, I mean, at the end she gets taken away by a ghostly entourage of soldiers, basically, who are in black and white and she's in color. And then, but the matting on her is the matting of her color effect is really good too. In a way that I was like, what are they these people are really black and white? Is this on set like that or what? But I don't think so.
No, but it was the fact that a Sesame Street special could make us ask that kind of question. Good job.
Yeah. Good job in this one specific part.
It was one of those where I rewatched it specifically because it was a little too good. And I thought I had missed how we got to something this interesting.
What they could have done Big Bird in a Seven Samurai situation where instead of having to defend the town. No, instead of that he's got to put on a school play or something. So he's got to round up the tough kid, the whatever kid.
Imagine Big Bird in a samurai armor outfit.
He'd look really cool.
I'd love to see it.
I'm sure someone has drawn that. Right.
It's like the they have the Cookie Monster kaiju statues. We could get a Big Bird samurai.
Yeah.
His body's a weird shape for armor, but
it's tough to search because there's a character in an anime named Big Bird. So
that is going to make things more difficult.
An anime that possibly is about samurais.
Man,
he looks so
bird, though.
Cool.
I'd like to see a puppet of that guy.
Yeah, he looks great.
Yeah, it's the next fan art we have to request.
Yeah, I could see it being like a Mondo toy or something like that, like Big Bird. Superposable Hot Toys edition of Big Bird, where
they do that occasionally with Star Wars, where they have a stormtrooper samurai.
Yeah,
do it with Sesame Street, guys.
Yeah, why not? Why? And also why not?
Well, I guess it would be our job to answer the why, and I don't feel like it.
No, somebody might make some money, I guess.
Well, Big Bird and Barkley were late, kind of, to get on the train, but they did make it just in time
Yeah, so
to meet
nothing
a mysterious lady on the train platform.
so nothing
And
happens, basically.
we don't even see them on the train doing anything interesting. They
I
just
thought that
get
was
to
weird.
Kyoto
They talk
just
about the
fine.
train so much.
Yeah. And this is they get to Kyoto and she's like, just sit here, stay, and your group will find you. She says a very odd thing, which she said something like, I talked to your friends and they're not going to leave you this time.
Yeah, I thought that was weird too. Like she talked to the tour group or
I
something.
think she said she talked to the tour group at the airport.
Yeah.
So it's like they're already there. Somehow she transported herself over to the airport and was like, your bird and dog, they're nearby, but I didn't drop them off close enough. So you have to find them maybe.
You have
I
to
don't know.
wait there or something.
Yeah, the fact that she just said, I talked to your tour group at the airport and they're not going to leave you this time was like,
She's lying. She's a liar. That's what it is.
oh,
She
right,
has
her
got
con man
too.
ways.
It's back to that thing where she gives too much details.
She was expecting Big Bird to fall for her, as many other men do.
Oh.
But he was immune to her ways,
Or
not
at
being
some
a
point,
human man.
At some point, she's like, "So, how old are you?" He's like, 6. Oh,
Cool, I'm going to leave you here with these other kids. I guess I am now responsible for you, so I'll take you where I said I was going to take you, but never mind. You have nothing to offer me.
Wow. That would be another, if it's a little problematic, but if there was a movie where someone fell in love with Big Bird and then found out he was 6, but they're just stuck with him.
Be like, Mandalorian and Grogu, where like Mando's like, Baby Yoda, and he's like, I'm 40, dude. It's like,
No,
this is weird. I'm gonna still treat you like you're my baby, though.
You're gonna be a baby for the rest of my natural life.
Yeah. Well, after they are told that they should just sit and stay here, the mysterious lady once again disappears in a golden orb, and Big Bird and Barkley get instantly distracted by a couple of men who just walk by and they're like, ooh.
They have cool outfits on.
Yeah. Turns out they were headed to a nearby temple, one that is famous for its 1,001 statues of the goddess of compassion. This place seems super rad.
Yeah, it looks awesome. And I want to see those statues in real life. I love the creepy guardian statues with like the glass inset eyes.
Mm-hmm. I couldn't, in looking up, I didn't spend like an hour or anything looking into this temple, but nothing when I was first reading about the temple mentioned anything about the scary statues.
Oh, it did seem like that was possibly two different places.
Yeah, like all the 1,000 gold statues are real. They are in the temple they mentioned, but the scary statues, I don't know if those are in the same place.
Right. Or they just don't warrant mention for some reason.
Yeah. But Barkley is, justifiably terrified.
He does a runaway with a bad. I hate when people speed up footage. It always looks so bad. Do some people think that doesn't look bad?
I think sometimes it's your only resort as, somebody who has edited so many videos.
Yeah.
And especially some short films. There's plenty of times you're like, wow, they really took a long time to set that plate down, huh? That's unfortunate. How can we cut around this or fix it? And I think sometimes when you're doing a little bit more of a kids content or cartoonish thing, you can get away with just and speeding it up in a Benny Hill like fashion. I'm guessing there's also times where people film that stuff thinking, we'll just crank up the speed in post and it'll look fine. And they see it, they're like, well, it doesn't look fine, but here we go.
Maybe Barkley can only move so fast. He actually can't run, maybe.
I mean, he's on little hand stilts, which cannot be comfortable.
Right.
So Big Bird ends up finding the mysterious woman once again and apologizes because he didn't stay put. It is now nighttime, so who knows how long he's been wandering around Kyoto. But he apologizes because he did not stay put and he lost Barkley.
And so, now he cannot leave Japan ever because Barkley is lost in Japan forever.
Yes. And, even though he was told, I don't know, that his group is waiting for him at the airport, what time is this flight and how long are they waiting at the airport?
That was confusing me too. Because seems to be the middle of the night now.
Mm-hmm.
And
Like
how
they
close are they to
definitely
the airport? Are they 10 minutes away from the airport? Why didn't she just bring him to the airport and then spend the rest of the day? Was she still
saying
being
goodbye
like,
to all the people we don't get to see.
I've given him all the clues. Hopefully he's going to figure out that I'm the moon princess and do something to help me now.
Unfortunately, not. But it does sort of just work out that this is the moment where Big Bird's like, by the way, I've never asked you your name. And this is when she says Kaguya Hime, and he cannot place it,
Yeah.
but he's sure he has heard that name
She's like,
before.
oh, okay. Sounds familiar. Why? Why did they write it this way?
I don't know. And the worst thing I think I could write in my notes at this point, I wrote, I feel nothing.
Well, Big Bird feels nothing, so we shouldn't either.
After Big Bird shares that Barkley was lost, the lady's like, I wouldn't be so sure. And she just calls over Barkley, and he's there instantly.
That's so weird. Why does this happen?
She's magic, Sam. Barkley was probably like walking down a back street peeing on some fire hydrant, and all of a sudden he just poofed. He's
Yeah.
like, where am I?
That's what I pictured too.
But after this, where she again, I think she just vanishes.
Yeah, she just turns into a golden orb right in front. This is when it is right in front of him.
Yeah, and Big Bird sings homesick again. This is the moment where Barkley is doing his little walking from rock to rock trick again.
Mm-hmm.
And Big Bird is like, hey, wait a minute. I think I know where I know that name from. Barkley, she needs us now.
But why?
I guess, one, like you said, in the story, it doesn't really make sense. There's no stakes. There's nothing he can do. But maybe he just realizes that she has to go away and is going to be taken away. And he thinks that's something she doesn't want to do.
Right.
But there is nothing in the special to indicate that he needs to help her or can.
No, that he can, especially.
Yeah. And this is the cool part where suddenly we are in a black and white forest. She is the only one in color. She's holding the bamboo stick she got from Barkley, which was very sweet. But she hands it over and she turns black and white and is escorted to the moon.
It's distressing.
It was actually, I think this part was so good and so cool and interesting looking that I was kind of, they sort of took away from it when they do the silhouette on the moon thing at the end when he's on the plane because that looks so bad.
It looked awful. Yeah.
And I was like, okay, well, I guess you're reusing that footage, but it doesn't look great.
And it's also still distressing because you're thinking about how Big Bird didn't do anything to help her.
Mm-hmm. Because they get to the forest, him and Barkley run in, and they only find the stick. And Big Bird's like, oh, I guess I was wrong.
I guess it wasn't. Yeah. What the hell?
It was interesting how, it goes back a little bit to how you were saying earlier of sometimes we get to know the secret or the mystery
Mm-hmm.
and the main character, like Big Bird, maybe doesn't. And that can be used really well. But I feel like in this case, it almost makes the special just not kind of matter.
Right. Because Big Bird is not actively participating in the plot in any way. Really.
And never figures it out, really.
And all we can do is just watch helplessly as something bad assumedly happens to this lady. Like, she doesn't want to do this.
Maybe that's why they do the little, Kaguya Hime will return in the glowing bamboo stick over the end credits.
Oh, yeah. That also is like, is this a cycle that happens over and over again? Or
right. Like, is there every full moon, is there a new bamboo princess?
Was this a story until now it's not a story anymore? Or it was
right, it was a thing that happened once.
What's that called? When somebody is the chosen one or whatever. There's a prophecy. It was a prophecy. It could have been a prophecy.
But then, Big Bird and Barkley make it back on the plane. This plane that has about 5 people on it and seats big enough for a giant bird and a giant dog.
Well, it's like a red-eye flight, apparently. It's middle of the night.
Well, they got to see the moon, Sam.
Yeah.
But Big Bird's lesson at the end of this is just like, wow, what a weird coincidence that lady had the same name as the Bamboo Princess and she kept disappearing, but I guess I was wrong.
Yeah, and I mean, I guess he also is like, I met so many cool people that I wouldn't have met on the tour, except he meets like one family.
I don't understand exactly why I didn't like it. I understand it more now that we've talked about it,
Yeah.
but I almost rewatched it a second time entirely this morning just to like soak it in and be like, what's going on here?
Uh-huh.
But I couldn't I didn't actually want to do that.
Yeah, I think it would have been like it starts off kind of as like a little bit of a low stakes hangout thing, even if
Mhm.
he's being annoying. And I think if it had stayed that way, and maybe you don't have supernatural stuff happen in this one. Why do you always have to have Big Bird engaging in supernatural things?
And I think that's maybe a big part of it too, is that just going in, the only real expectations I had were based on Big Bird in China because
Right.
as much as we are referencing Don't Eat the Pictures because he needs a god, a very different special.
Yeah.
Like
Uh,
this
yeah.
and Big Bird in China are much more similar than those two, but is not as charming as that. You don't have a cute little kid coming along
Yeah.
on the trip with you, even though there are plenty of questions about why that little kid is trekking around China with them.
Oh yeah, the
It's
kid is like a orphan or something, right?
I don't even know. I think they purposefully just kind of leave details out, if I remember correctly.
Yeah. I
And
think you're right. He just like finds that kid and that kid's like, "I'm coming with you." And yeah,
mhm.
it is never really adequately explained. I think you're right.
But again, I think if you're thinking about those questions too hard, it's because the story is not keeping you interested.
Yeah, maybe actually what it is partially is that he should be with a child. He needs the
Right.
child's perspective on things
Well,
where
and having the child be more knowledgeable than him in Big Bird in
uh-huh.
China is really helpful because she serves as translator a little
Yes.
bit, but also a guide, and also is like, oh yeah, Monkey King or whatever. It's fine.
Right.
Um, but
Right.
like in this, the lady has to be mysterious and only somewhat helpful. And
Yeah.
so there's so many times where it's like, okay, it's you're very purposefully not saying the next thing you could say here.
Right. And you're disappearing for huge swaths of this, so we don't get to know you. Whatever your thing is doesn't really make any sense, even with the story injected into it. Like even when we know who you are, it still doesn't make any sense. Bad job, John Stone. Do better next time.
Yeah, not my favorite thing you've ever done there, Johnstone.
I do wish Big Bird had gone more places. Don't you think that would have been cool?
That's the thing is, I think he could have gone to the same number of places,
No, no.
but
I mean, I wish there was like Big
oh,
Bird goes to India, Big Bird goes
right.
to Germany, Big Bird goes to whatever. I think
Well,
that would
I
have been neat.
think that does happen. Like, I think there are more specials that are sort of like this. I think maybe in the 90s and 2000s,
Mhm.
where Big Bird travels a lot more. I don't think there are full specials like we get here,
Mhm.
but I think they do send him around the world more.
For just segments of Sesame Street
I
or
believe so.
okay.
I think there was like a running series, which I will look up on Muppet Wiki now. Yeah, so there was at least Big Bird's road trip, which was for season 50,
Okay.
where he went to every single state in the country.
Oh, he goes to Montana?
He goes to Red Lodge, Montana.
Interesting. Okay. Tourist destination, so that makes sense.
I think these were. I'm trying to remember if Big Bird actually goes or if he like
Oh,
FaceTimes with people who are there.
is like narrating
Um,
over footage of there or something like that.
Yeah.
Okay.
But I do feel like, if I'm remembering correctly, there are some times where Big Bird gets to travel.
Okay.
I could be wrong. Somebody please tell me if I am.
Yeah, I mean, I just think it's like such a fun opportunity to uh learn through a fake child's eyes about a place. And this one was such a wasted opportunity because I come away from it knowing less maybe about Japan than I did before I started watching.
Yeah, like I don't even know if they say, "Hey, that's Mount Fuji."
No, I don't think they
Um,
do. I think you're right.
like they're just standing next to Mount Fuji and
Yeah.
they're just like, "Hey, let's play fetch with our dog."
Yeah. Making like just a documentary that happens to have Big Bird narrating it would be maybe
Well, yeah, and I think
it's like
just even
better.
Big Bird, like going down the river in China on that boat was
Right.
1,000 times more visually interesting than anything else we see in
I
this.
forgot he spent so long on that boat. Yeah.
But they go to the Great Wall. We learn like at least something about the Great Wall.
Yeah.
Um,
And he's guys got a better attitude throughout as well. I think the biggest problem with this was that Big Bird just was in a bad headspace.
yeah, he's having a bad. Maybe he's just having a bad day.
Yeah, I think so. I think that's what it was.
Well, yeah, that is it for Big Bird in Japan. The last of these like actual, Big Bird goes to a place
Mm-hmm.
specials that we will watch because I think as we once talked about forever ago, there was an idea for a Big Bird in the USSR.
Oh yeah, right.
Or I think maybe just Big Bird Goes to Russia. I don't remember what it was actually called. But
Uh-huh.
yeah, there was that plan that I think they ultimately were just like, huh, maybe not.
He would have been, yeah, they would have said some really insulting stuff based on that thing we watched last episode.
There's a book that I have not yet read called Muppets in Moscow
Oh yeah, right.
um, that I have been meaning to check out. But that's the subtitle of that one is The Unexpected Crazy True Story of Making Sesame Street in Russia. So that's more about making their own version
Uh-huh.
of Sesame Street and less about the Big Bird USSR. But maybe it's referenced in that. I'm
Maybe.
not sure.
Or Jim's trips over there or something.
But while I have not read that book, I have read a somewhat similar book, which is Sesame Street Palestine,
Mm-hmm.
which is a very interesting book that is worth checking out and is just, you know, we talk so much about the creation of Sesame Street and all these things happening here in the U.S. And I mean, now especially they're trying to defund PBS and
Right.
kill off woke Sesame Street and all this stuff. But obviously, the backroom drama around trying to create a Palestinian Sesame Street series in the '90s was a whole other adventure,
Yeah.
and it did not last terribly long. But they did make it, and there are clips out there that you can watch. But more importantly, I would suggest reading the book. It's like one of those that pops up, I think, on ebook stores for like $1 sometimes. But it's very interesting, not only to sort of, life as a Palestinian, but also then being tasked with trying to bring this Sesame Street idea into a place where there's so much conflict and disagreements about how things like this should be done.
Mm-hmm.
And I think it's as a creative type person, it's really interesting to read the author's story of trying to really stand up for what he believes in to make a good, useful version of this show,
Uh-huh.
while everyone around him is trying to get him to compromise to either not piss people off or to like bow down to people that people are like, you should really not, you know, do that kind of thing.
Right.
But he's looking at it as like, well, the only way this is useful is if I stick to my guns, and I would recommend checking it out. Well, Sam, it hasn't been that long since we actually spoke or recorded an
Oh
episode,
yeah, right.
but I gotta ask, what non-Muppet things have you enjoyed this week?
Oh, I don't know if did I talk about that I was watching Andor? I probably did, right?
I think we've talked about it a little bit because I have not yet started Andor,
Oh
and so
yeah,
it's
yeah,
been like,
yeah.
let's talk about Star Wars. Psych, I
Yeah.
can't.
Let's never talk about Star Wars. But that's all I watched in the last I think since I saw you, I watched
Well, good news, Sam.
Andor.
I finished Skeleton Crew yesterday,
Oh
so
yeah.
now
Tell me
I'm gonna
about
start
that.
watching Andor.
What'd you think about that?
I loved it. It's
Yeah.
great.
Isn't
It's
it
a good
great?
time. I wish I had watched it like all together when I first started it for the first time,
Uh-huh.
because there was like little breaks that I took that
Right.
I feel like made me fall out of the story a little bit, and I had to sort of warm back up to it. But I think honestly, I wish it had been a movie, not because I think it's too long or anything, but I
Uh-huh.
think that story just feels so like solid as a one big story that you could
Totally.
have made that a movie and it would have been just fine.
Yeah, I agree.
But it's probably harder to get people to see that in a theater than it would be to watch it on Disney Plus.
That's a good point. And that yeah, I mean that's a good point for a good reason for Disney Plus shows to exist because
Mhm.
there are things like there's definitely like Captain America and the Winter Soldier should have just
Yes, even though
been
Kevin Feige just came out and said, "We're not gonna make any more TV shows."
Yeah, but I mean, that shouldn't have been a TV show. I don't know. Like a lot of those, I think shouldn't have been TV shows.
Well, I think this is something we've definitely said multiple times, or at least I have on the podcast. So many of these like 6 to 10 episode miniseries they keep doing
Yeah.
should either be a movie or should be a 20 episode season
Right.
because they're trying to hit this weird middle ground and they're not doing it in the way that like Game of Thrones and Breaking Bad used to
Uh-huh.
use like 12 episodes really well. They're
Right.
doing it where it's like, okay, you did 6 episodes and somehow still have a filler episode for some reason.
Yeah.
Or you're trying to tell 10 years of somebody's life in 6 episodes or 8 episodes. And I'm like,
Right.
maybe you could spend a little bit more time on this one time we're going to get to know this character.
Yeah. The new season of Daredevil has a filler episode, and it's so funny that it's just like, why are you doing this?
Yeah.
It doesn't, but anyway. But yeah, Andor takes an approach that feels more like it's like 4 movies kind of because they
I
release
can't
3
wait. I
episodes at a
loved season
time.
1 so much.
Yeah. So it's like 3 episode story arcs released in like 4 chunks, which
Mm.
all are very satisfying, but oh
Yeah, I
boy.
think even watching the last couple episodes of Skeleton Crew even just put me back in a Star Wars mood that I think
Yeah.
I haven't been in a while. But some of the visuals in that are really, really
So
good. Like some of
good.
the spaceship, not like sort of battles, but also just flying through interesting looking gaseous planety places.
Yeah,
Um,
and like totally spoiler alert if you haven't seen this, don't listen to this. But the fact that Jude Law, is that who it is?
mm-hmm.
The fact that he's evil and then stays evil is like so
Mm,
satisfying. And he's so creepy once you finally are like, all right, this guy's a dickhead. And I also like that there wasn't a twist behind why he could do force stuff. He just could and was a dickhead. I thought that was great. Like the whole time you're like, maybe he's using magnets or maybe something fake is going on here, but he's just not a good person. I really liked that.
they definitely left it open so that they could do some more Skeleton Crew if they want to.
Yeah. I don't know that they ever will, but man, I think it got such a bum rap of like I think it wasn't a mistake necessarily because it was important
Mm,
to the show, but when
yeah.
the trailers came out for it, people were like, "The suburbs in Star Wars." First of
Mm-hmm.
all, who fucking cares? Like, there's a
Yeah.
planet of everything. Why wouldn't there be? But then the fact that you watch it and instantly know that the fact that it's a suburb is like wrong and like there's
Mm,
something off about the whole thing, and that
yeah.
all plays into it is also like where else? Like, first of all, where do you think people live? You think, but also I mean, I understand why some people thought that was bad, but just not having the patience to even like turn something on and be like, "Oh, I understand."
Yeah, I think that's the one thing is I'm sure there are a lot of people who skipped Skeleton Crew
Mhm.
because it doesn't feature any main characters. There's
Yeah.
not Jedi battles. There's not whatever. Um, and so I understand that, but like, spoilers aside that Sam just shared, the show is better than you think it is if you
Yeah.
haven't watched it. And yeah, like it just feels very Star Warsy. It does what I like about Star Wars that I think Mandalorian season 1 exclusively did really well,
Uh-huh.
is give you a slice of the Star Wars universe that you know how it connects to some of the stuff but you don't need to fill in every gap, or you
Yeah.
don't need to have Luke Skywalker show up to save the kiddos.
Right.
Um,
Like
and
sometimes it's just
yeah.
satisfying to know like, "Oh, here's how this wing of the rebellion worked," or like, "Here's
Mhm.
how they said this sentence." This is what Andor is. Like they said this
Yeah.
sentence and now you learn about that. But God, you
Yes.
don't have to know. He doesn't have to be Luke Skywalker. I don't care about Luke Skywalker.
Yeah, especially deep fake Luke Skywalker.
Yeah.
But yeah, so that's why I'm grateful for shows like Skeleton Crew and Andor that can keep my um, Star Wars love alive.
Yeah.
I am definitely going to devour Andor as soon as possible. But yeah, the other thing I watched this week was another finishing of a season. I finished that show, The Four Seasons, that I talked about last
Oh
time,
yeah. Uh-huh.
which is, actually, speaking of the formatting of miniseries, it is an 8 episode thing where every 2 episodes is another season. So, you know,
Oh.
the first two episodes are the spring, next 2 episodes are summer, next 2 episodes are fall. You get it. It's very funny, very, very well written. There's been some people coming out being like, "Man, you gotta be middle aged to enjoy this show,"
Uh,
which I
hey,
get
you're
why
getting
they're.
close, Matt.
Well, I get why they're saying that because like all the characters in this are in their 50s.
Right.
They're married, going through divorces, whatever. I think it's not an age thing as much as it is a phase of life thing.
Uh-huh.
Like I think if you are a person who is sort of, settled down, you're married, whatever, like I think this show is more for you. So obviously that's going to happen more probably in your 30s.
Right.
So yeah, I think that's who this is more for.
You
That's who
gotta
this
be old
like
to like this show.
I think again, I don't think it's old because I think there's probably some 37-year-olds whose life is very different from mine
Right.
who maybe wouldn't enjoy this show because they're like, "Ugh, why do I want to watch boring couples just talk about themselves?"
Uh-huh.
But I found it really charming and interesting, and it does some things and goes some places you wouldn't expect. Highly recommend. It's only 8 episodes. They're pretty short.
Where do you watch it?
Netflix
Okay.
is a Netflix original. I'm very curious to see they much like Skeleton Crew, they leave it in a way that they could do a second season if they want to, but you
Hmm.
don't necessarily need to do it. Well, next time, I actually don't want to promise.
If there is a next time.
Yeah. I don't want to promise what we're going to be watching next time. Since there's a good chance, like I said earlier, that my wife may have already had our baby by the time you're hearing this episode. So the next episode you hear may be us discussing Sesame Street 20 and Still Counting, or it might be us interviewing somebody just about Muppet fandom in general, or it'll be something that Sam cooks up all on his own. Maybe he's just going to talk to you for like a 5-hour marathon episode about
I
his
could do it.
feelings
I could do it.
on DC comic books.
Oh, I couldn't do that. I thought you just meant my feelings.
Just a one-way therapy session.
Yeah. I think I would say if you do have to dip out for a while, the next thing you probably will hear will actually be an announcement about that with
Right.
what to expect.
Yeah, which I think also we will probably post some things to socials, whether that's on Instagram, Blue Sky. If you're following me, like as a person on my own stuff, so if you're following those accounts, you'll find
You'll
out what's
learn.
going on.
Yeah.
If you're on our Patreon Discord, you'll probably be the first people to know what's going on.
You might know before me.
You can keep up with us on our social accounts, Blue Sky, Instagram. It's either at Commitment Pod on Instagram or at commitment.com on Blue Sky. We will keep you updated as to what's going on there. But yes, you will have an update at some point in your feed to let you know what is going on. Well, yeah, we got to thank our friend Tuna for making the music for this podcast. I feel like sometimes we gloss over that and just say it and don't acknowledge it enough to say, hey, Tuna's great.
Tuna did a great job. You need podcast music? Go to Tuna.
If you want to follow Tuna on Blue Sky, you can do so at Tunaloons. Just TUNALOONS is Tuna's Blue Sky. But we also have to thank Cassie Wilson for singing our theme song. Cassie Wilson, if you want to follow her on the internet, Instagram is the best place to do that. And it's at Cassie Wilson _. And Wilson has 2 L's in it. So CASSIE WILLSON _. She's very funny, does a lot of good stuff on Instagram. So check her out. And if you want to keep up with us, not only the social media accounts are a good place to do that, but also commitment.com for all your commitment needs, be it merch or episode listening. If you want to get in touch with us, email us at mail@commitment.com, or you can always follow me at Matthew Gatos.
And I'm Sam Schultz.
And as always, keep believing.
Keep pretending.